My mother secretly pocketed $185,200 from the state for my grandmother's medical care while forcing me to do the grueling, back-breaking nursing work for absolutely free. When I finally refused to cancel my $21,500 destination wedding to be their live-in slave, she tried to destroy my nursing license out of spite only to accidentally trigger a massive state investigation that ended with her facing criminal fraud charges, massive fines, and the complete destruction of her life. The text from my mother, Susan, came in at exactly 4:51 a.m. while I was sitting on the cold, stained carpet beside Gate 14 at Seattle Tacoma International Airport. I had my wedding dress carefully folded into a pristine white garment bag draped across my knees. I was exhausted, running on empty, and staring blankly at the departure screens. When my phone buzzed, I glanced down. The second line of the message made my hands go so completely numb that my phone slipped right through my fingers and clattered into my lap. Grandma collapsed. Trip is off. I just sat there, paralyzed. I watched my fiancé, Liam, lean over and read the glowing screen over my shoulder. I watched his face transition in a matter of seconds from sleep-deprived grogginess, to sudden sharp alertness, and finally, to something entirely flat, hardened, and braced for impact. It wasn't surprise. It was absolute, exhausted recognition. We were exactly 6 days out from getting married at a breathtaking, centuries-old stone villa overlooking a vineyard in Tuscany, Italy. We had 45 guests currently holding non-refundable tickets on 5 different international flights. Liam and I had spent 14 grueling months and exactly $21,500 of our own hard-earned money building this one single, perfect day. And my mother had just unilaterally canceled it in 6 words. Her next message landed in my inbox before I could even get my frozen thumbs to unlock the screen. You are the only one qualified to care for her. Get your things and come to the house. I already let the extended family know we are postponing the wedding. Notice the phrasing. Not, can you come to the hospital? Not, are you able to help us figure this out? There wasn't a single question mark anywhere in that text. It was just a cold, hard announcement and a rigid set of instructions delivered to a 28-year-old woman sitting on airport carpet at 5 in the morning, wearing a custom-embroidered sweatshirt she had bought specifically to wear on her honeymoon flight. To understand the sheer, unadulterated audacity of this moment, you have to understand exactly how I grew up. I had been the oldest of 3 children for all 28 years of my life. I had been a fully licensed, registered nurse for 5 of those years. And, most importantly, I had been the unpaid, unappreciated, full-time domestic staff of my parents' household since I was just 8 years old. That was the year my father, Richard, bought his second commercial HVAC van and started running the emergency night dispatch board himself. That meant he left the house at 6:00 p.m. every evening and didn't drag himself back in until somewhere between 4:00 and 6:00 the morning, always smelling strongly of Freon, metallic dust, and stale coffee. That was also the exact same year my mother transitioned from her job as a low-level school district secretary into a highly demanding payroll and benefits coordinator role for the county. It was a job she was incredibly good at, a job she was fiercely proud of, and a job that came with a mandatory, grueling certification course 2 nights a week and a massive stack of heavy 3-ring binders that permanently took up residence on our kitchen table for 3 solid years. Somebody had to run the house in the gaping void between those 2 chaotic, overlapping schedules. That somebody was me. My sister, Maya, was 3 years old. My brother, Ethan, was barely even walking. I vividly remember learning how to perfectly balance and run a heavy-duty washing machine long before I ever learned how to ride a bicycle. I know that sounds like a dramatic line somebody made up for a movie, but it is just the cold, hard reality of my childhood, because a bicycle is optional, and clean laundry for a family of 5 is not. By the time I was 9 years old, I could flawlessly sort the family mail into 3 distinct piles: urgent bills, school notices, and junk. And I knew, without anyone having to tell me, that the envelopes with the little plastic windows went squarely on top of the microwave so my mother would see them, and never, ever shoved into a junk drawer. By the time I was 10, I was independently cooking dinner 4 nights a week. It was nothing overly complicated: rice and canned beans, simple cheese quesadillas, breakfast for dinner when I was too exhausted to chop vegetables, and hot dogs meticulously cut into tiny, uniform coins for Ethan because he had a bad habit of gagging on whole pieces. By 11, I was doing the weekly grocery run. Technically, I did it times with my mother at the store, but she was always pacing the aisles on her cell phone, aggressively arguing with insurance providers or coworkers, which meant I was the one pushing the cart, checking the list, and making sure we stayed under budget. By 12, I kept a thick spiral notebook on the kitchen counter with every single family member's week meticulously written out in color-coded columns. Maya had speech therapy on Tuesdays at 4:00. Ethan had a pediatric follow-up for his chronic ear infections in March. Dad needed the secondary HVAC van inspected for emissions before the 14th of the month. I wrote it all down religiously, because I knew with absolute certainty that if I didn't write it down, nobody else would. And then somebody would miss something crucial, and then there would be a massive, screaming fight, and those screaming fights always, without fail, ended with both of my parents turning around and glaring at me, demanding to know why I had let things slip. I was 12 years old, and I was the central load-bearing pillar of why my family functioned. There is one specific afternoon I go back to in therapy much more than any of the others. I was 13. Maya had spiked a sudden, terrifying fever of 103.4 degrees. My mother was sitting in the middle of a county certification exam that she absolutely could not walk out of, and my father was deep under a ventilation unit somewhere 2 towns over and completely unreachable. I found the health insurance card in my mother's drawer and called the pediatric nurse triage line printed on the back. I gave the operator Maya's exact weight, her current temperature, the timeline of her symptoms, and how long the fever had been running, because I was the only conscious person in that entire house who knew any of that information. The woman on the phone paused and gently asked me to please put an adult on the line. I told her, my voice shaking but firm, that there was not one available. She went dead quiet for a long, heavy second, and then she sighed and walked me through the alternating Tylenol and Motrin dosing schedule anyway. That was the very first time I ever officially charted medical information in my life. I wrote the exact times, the exact medication names, and the exact milligram doses on the back of a torn utility envelope so I could tell my mother precisely what I had done when she finally got home. Nobody ever asked to see the envelope. My parents loved to tell all our relatives and neighbors that I was an old soul. My Aunt Patricia always affectionately called me the little adult, which she genuinely meant as a high compliment, and which I eagerly accepted as one for about 15 years. My teachers consistently wrote highly responsible and abnormally mature for her age on every single report card I ever brought home. My grandmother, Eleanor, used to hold my face in both of her soft, wrinkled hands and tell me that I was the steady one. Not one single person in an entire decade ever stopped to ask why the steady one was 12 years old and doing the unpaid domestic labor of 2 full-grown adults. Nobody ever asked why 2 highly functional, fully employed parents had quietly, systematically outsourced the entire mental and physical load of a household to a middle schooler, and then gladly accepted community congratulations for how wonderfully she was turning out. The pattern didn't miraculously break when I got to high school. It just got infinitely more expensive in terms of what it cost my future. I couldn't run cross-country because track practice ended at 5:45 p.m., and Ethan got dropped off by the school bus at 3:20 p.m., and there was simply nobody else to watch him. I had to turn down a highly competitive, paid summer internship at a downtown pediatric clinic the year I was 16, an internship that would have put me in a real medical building with real patient charts because it required 40 hours a week, and 40 hours a week of freedom was not something I possessed. I went to exactly one high school dance my entire teenage life, and I had to leave abruptly at 9:15 p.m., because my mother texted me that Dad had an emergency call out for a broken furnace, and could I please rush home immediately to put the kids to bed. I wasn't angry about it back then. That is the part that is always so incredibly hard to explain to people who didn't grow up in a deeply enmeshed, parentified dynamic. I wasn't angry, I was profoundly proud. Being needed was the absolute only currency I had ever been paid in, and I had a massive stockpile of it. And I genuinely thought that meant I was rich in love. The memory that still catches bitterly in my throat, even now, is the nursing program. I got accepted at 17 into a prestigious 4-year BSN program at a state university a little under 4 hours north, complete with a fantastic merit scholarship that covered most of the exorbitant tuition. It meant real dorms, real independence, real hospital rotations in a major city, and a whole, beautiful life with my own name on it. I brought the thick acceptance folder to the kitchen table, practically vibrating with excitement. My mother picked it up, read the letter twice, set it down carefully next to her lukewarm coffee, and said it was a wonderful opportunity, but it just wasn't realistic. 4 hours is a very long way, Chloe, she said, her voice dripping with fake, manufactured concern. What happens here if something happens there? Who is going to manage the schedules? And then she looked me dead in the eyes and said the sentence I have thought about probably 10,000 times since. You are the glue in this family, Chloe. Glue doesn't get to move. So, entirely broken and guilt-tripped into submission, I did the 2-year associate's program at the local community college, and then the bridge program at the State Branch campus exactly 22 minutes from my parents' driveway. I lived at home in my childhood bedroom the entire time. I worked the front desk at a local physical therapy office on weekends to pay for my books, and I came home every single afternoon between my rigorous anatomy and pharmacology classes to put a load of laundry in, start dinner, and check the family schedule notebook. I passed my NCLEX boards at 23. I immediately got hired onto a high-acuity medical surgical floor at a major hospital in the city, working 3 grueling 1-2-hour shifts a week. It was a real job with a real ID badge, real life and death stakes, and a real, substantial paycheck. And for about 4 brief, glorious months, I felt like a real person who had somehow managed to get away with something illegal just by having my own life. Then, my grandmother Eleanor had her massive stroke. Eleanor was 72. It happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon in her own kitchen. The stroke violently took the entire left side of her body, most of her physical balance, and absolutely none of her sharp, witty personality. It is the cruelest possible combination of symptoms, because it left her fully, painfully aware of every single thing she could no longer do for herself. She spent 11 agonizing days in the acute stroke ward and 5 long weeks in an inpatient rehab facility. On the day she was finally discharged, my father drove her back to the house she had lived in for 44 years. My mother met me in the driveway, let out a long sigh, and said, "Well, thank God we have you." That was it. That was the entirety of the conversation. There was absolutely no formal family meeting. There was no serious discussion of long-term care options, assisted living, or hiring a home health aide. There was no moment where anyone sat down and asked what this immense burden was going to cost the one single person in the family who happened to hold a nursing license. There was just one presumptive sentence in a concrete driveway. And then, there were 6 years. I need to explain exactly what those 6 years looked like, because when normal people hear granddaughter helps out with sick grandma, they picture somebody cheerfully bringing over a warm casserole on a Sunday afternoon and maybe doing a load of towels. I worked 3 exhaustive 1-2-hour shifts at the hospital, usually Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, where I was on my feet constantly. Then, I drove 26 minutes to my grandmother's house bright and early on Thursday morning, and I stayed there, sleeping in her spare room, until late Sunday night. I meticulously managed 11 different complex medications across 4 strict dosing times. This included a volatile blood thinner that had to be carefully held before her dental work and perfectly restarted after, which, if you know anything about nursing, is exactly the kind of critical medication error that kills fragile patients when it goes wrong. I checked her blood sugar with a lancet twice a day and manually adjusted her sliding scale insulin based on her diet. I did all the physical transfers. Bed to wheelchair? Wheelchair to toilet. Toilet to shower bench. I am 5'4", and she was 160 pounds of mostly dead, uncooperative weight on her paralyzed left side. I did those dangerous, back-breaking transfers entirely alone for years, because there was never a second able-bodied person in the house at the hours it needed doing. I cleaned, debrided, and dressed a nasty diabetic ulcer on her right heel for 14 straight months until it finally closed. I gave her a weekly medication injection deep in the back of her arm. When she had a terrible autumn with severe retention and needed an indwelling Foley catheter for 6 weeks, I managed that, too. And if you know what catheter care involves, you know it is not a casual favor, it is a sterile medical procedure. I did her daily range of motion physical therapy exercises. I cut her thickened toenails, which sounds incredibly small but is actually a massive, high-risk ordeal with a diabetic patient prone to infection. I called her doctors, sat in on her appointments, and translated the complex medical jargon for my parents. I fought her insurance company on the phone twice to get her mobility equipment covered. And every single night, before I finally collapsed onto the uncomfortable daybed in her spare room, I wrote it all down. I charted the exact time, the medication dose, the blood pressure reading, the glycemic response, the skin integrity check, her fluid intake, her urine output, and absolutely anything unusual. I didn't do it because anybody asked me to. I did it because I am a trained registered nurse, and that is what you are legally and ethically supposed to do. And if I hadn't done it, my anxiety wouldn't have allowed me to sleep. Over the course of 6 years, that meticulous charting filled 7 thick spiral notebooks, which I kept safely stored in a canvas tote bag in the trunk of my car. I want you to remember those notebooks. They become very important later. In the very beginning, I asked my parents about financial help exactly one time. I was 24, and I had just come off a brutal stretch of 11 days of working between the hospital and grandma's house with absolutely no day off at all. I was physically shaking from exhaustion. I sat at my parents' kitchen table, looked my mother in the eye, and asked, "Is there anything from the state that helps pay for this kind of intensive care? Is there a Medicaid program? Anything at all?" My mother, who had, by then, moved from the school district into a senior billing and eligibility office for county health services, which is to say, my mother spent 40 hours a week dealing intimately with exactly this kind of state healthcare paperwork, reached across the table, put her hand patronizingly on top of mine, and sighed. "Grandma doesn't qualify for any of those programs, honey," she said softly. "Dad and I already checked into all of it. Her assets are just too high because she owns the house outright." Then she patted my hand and delivered the sentence that slammed the subject shut for the next 5 years. "Family doesn't bill family, Chloe." I never asked again. I want to be extremely clear about something, because this is the part that internet strangers always get wrong when they hear this story. I deeply loved my grandmother. I didn't love her in the abstract, obligatory way people love distant relatives they see once a year at Thanksgiving. I loved her intimately. I knew the exact rattling sound her breathing made when she was developing a chest infection 3 full days before a doctor with a stethoscope would have caught it. I knew she took her morning coffee with so much sugar it was basically a dessert, and that she would vehemently lie to her endocrinologist about it. I knew which of her childhood stories she told when she was feeling happy and nostalgic, and which ones she repeated when she was feeling frightened and confused by her failing body. 6 years is a very long time to sit in a quiet, dimly lit house with somebody. She was not the problem. She was never times the problem. That distinction is going to matter heavily later on, so please hold on to it. There was one terrifying night in the 4th year that I have never, ever told my mother about. Eleanor's blood sugar suddenly plummeted to 41 at 10 minutes after 2:00 inches the morning. I know it was exactly 41 because I wrote it down in notebook number 4. She was dripping in cold, clammy sweat, her eyes weren't tracking my finger, and she couldn't follow a simple 2-step verbal instruction. I panicked but relied on my training, forcing glucose gel into her cheek. I sat on the hardwood floor next to her recliner and pricked her finger to recheck her levels every 10 minutes for an hour and a half until she finally stabilized, came back to reality, and asked me why I was looking at her like she was a ghost. My father was dead asleep at the other end of the house. My mother was away at a county billing conference in Portland. There was absolutely no second set of trained hands, and there was no backup number to call that wasn't 911. And if I had made one single wrong clinical judgment in that 90 minutes, there would have been a massive state inquiry. And that inquiry would have found exactly one licensed medical professional in that building. It would have found me. That is exactly what Liam meant when he finally opened my eyes. I didn't fully understand the legal peril I was in that night, and I didn't admit I understood it for 2 more years. I met Liam when I was 26. He is a firefighter and paramedic, and we met the exact way 2 exhausted people in the first responder world always meet. Standing in a brightly lit, chaotic hospital hallway at 3:00 inches the morning, aggressively waiting for an open ER bed for a patient. He is 32. He is incredibly calm in a steady, unshakable way that took my traumatized brain a full year to actually trust. And he has a very annoying habit of asking short, piercing questions that take you a week to mentally recover from. We had been seeing each other for maybe 5 weeks when I was casually telling him about my grandmother's recent beta blocker medication changes over a plate of street tacos. He stopped chewing, put his fork down on the napkin, and looked at me intensely. "Who signs off on her medication changes?" he asked. "I do," I replied, taking a sip of my drink. "No, Chloe, I mean on paper," Liam clarified, his brow furrowing. "Who is the responsible party of record? Who is the assigned home health agency? Who carries the massive liability if she aspirates or falls during a transfer?" I just sat there in the booth with my mouth slightly open, a cold dread pooling in my stomach. Because the terrifying answer was, nobody, and I had never, not once in 3 years of nursing school and 3 years of practice, said that horrifying truth out loud. Liam leaned back and crossed his arms. "So you aren't just helping her out on the weekends, Chloe. You are actively practicing unlicensed, unassigned medicine in a private home. There is a massive legal difference." I didn't have a single word to say to that. He didn't push it. He just watched. He watched me leave his warm apartment at 11:30 at night in the freezing November rain because my mother texted that Eleanor seemed off, even though my mother was sitting in the exact same house at the time. He watched me burn 2 of my 3 hard-earned PTO vacation days that year to manage a brutal colonoscopy prep and a cardiology appointment that were not mine. He watched me get a vague text at 6:40 on a Saturday morning that just said, "She's asking for you," with 0 other clinical information, and he watched me silently put my shoes on and leave. He watched my phone violently vibrate during a movie, during our anniversary dinner, and during my own birthday party. "Grandma needs her pill organizer sorted. Can you come by? Your father can't figure out the new blood pressure machine. Are you working Thursday? We have a thing we want to go to." Every single one of them was shaped like a polite question, but functioned exactly like a mandatory work order, because the alternative to saying yes was a disabled woman I loved dearly sitting alone in a chair, needing to use the bathroom, waiting for somebody who was never coming. When Liam finally proposed to me in the cab of his truck in a grocery store parking lot because he simply couldn't wait until we got back to his apartment, I said yes before he even finished pulling the ring box out of his jacket. And then, that night, sitting on the tailgate drinking beers, he said something very carefully. "I want to marry you, Chloe," he said, holding my hand. "But I do not want to marry your parents' work schedule. Before we set a wedding date, I want us to see a professional therapist, because I don't think you can see how deeply abusive this is from the inside." We spent 4 intense months with Dr. Aris, a licensed marriage and family therapist who had 11 years of specific clinical experience working in caregiver enmeshment and toxic family systems. Dr. Aris was not a warm, fuzzy, hand-holding therapist. She was clinical, sharp, and precise, which turned out to be exactly what my brain needed. She asked me to estimate how many hours a week I provided skilled nursing care. I did the math out loud for the very first time in my life, counting the transfers, the med passes, the wound care, and the overnight monitoring. The number was consistently between 55 and 70 hours a week. She asked what I was financially compensated. Nothing, I whispered. She asked whether I had ever been thanked by my parents in a way that was not immediately followed by a new demand for labor. I sat in silence for 2 minutes and couldn't think of a single instance. She asked whether my parents had ever provided overnight care alone, without me in the building as a safety net. My father? Never. My mother? Maybe 4 times in 6 years, and 2 of those times she called me in a panic at midnight to walk her through it. Then, Dr. Eris took off her glasses and delivered the surgical strike. Chloe, do you understand that what you are describing to me is not familial caregiving? It is an illegal, unlicensed care arrangement being ruthlessly operated by 2 able-bodied people who are not doing any of the actual caregiving themselves. That is the exact sentence that broke something wide open inside my chest. Unlicensed care arrangement. Not family devotion. Not being a good granddaughter. An arrangement. An exploitation. Liam said one more thing in that sterile office that I have never forgotten. You hold a state nursing license, Chloe. Do you know what that actually means? If something goes horribly wrong in that house at 2:00 the morning, if she falls, if she strokes out again, if she gets the wrong med, there is no agency to back you up. There is no supervising physician. There is no official chart. There is only your name on the line. You are carrying absolutely every ounce of the catastrophic legal risk, and you have none of the authority to change your care plan. We set the hard boundary 7 months before the wedding on a tense Sunday afternoon at my parents' kitchen table. I brought a piece of paper I had typed out beforehand. Because Dr. Eris warned me I would panic and forget everything the second my mother deployed her tears. I looked at them both and said I was officially cutting my hours back to Sundays only. I said they needed to immediately hire a licensed home health aide from an accredited agency for the rest of the week. I offered to help interview the candidates, I offered to help train them on grandma's specific routines, and I promised I would always be on call for a times genuine times 911 medical emergency. What I absolutely cannot keep doing, I said, my voice shaking, is being the entire, unpaid plan. My mother started crying before I even finished the second sentence. They were actual, loud, gasping tears. The kind designed to suck all the oxygen out of the room. After absolutely everything this family has done for you. She sobbed, clutching her chest. We put a roof over your head. We paid for your car insurance until you were 22, and now you are just going to coldly walk away from the woman who raised your father? You're abandoning her. My father didn't cry. He just sat there, his jaw clenched, waiting until she stopped performing. And then he looked at me with dead, shark-like eyes and said in a completely flat, menacing voice, "Fine. But don't you dare come crying to us when you need something in the future." Then he stood up, grabbed his keys, and walked out to the garage. That was it. 6 years of my youth, my sanity, and my free labor. And the whole boundary conversation took exactly 19 minutes. It ended with a heavy threat about a future in which I would be the one begging for help. I remember driving back to Liam's apartment that night, gripping the steering wheel, and foolishly thinking that at least the confrontation was done. At least the hard part was finally over. I want to be brutally honest with you about how incredibly stupid and naive that was. They had spent 21 years aggressively training me to be their perfectly compliant, available servant. 4 months of therapy was never going to outrun 2 decades of conditioning. And they hadn't accepted my boundary at all. They had simply gone quiet. The dangerous way predators go quiet when they are waiting in the tall grass for the absolute worst moment to strike. Update 1. We picked Tuscany for the wedding because Liam's great-grandparents had originally emigrated from a tiny village outside Florence, and Liam had never been to Italy to see it. We also picked it because I had never left North America in my entire life, and because when we aggressively priced out a local wedding for the massive, bloated number of people my mother insisted we had times to invite, it came out significantly higher than just flying the 45 people who actually mattered to us to a different continent. We found a breathtaking agriturismo in the rolling hills, a working olive and wine estate with a rustic stone chapel, a gorgeous courtyard, and 15 guest rooms. We booked it 14 months in advance, and we paid for the entire thing ourselves. Every single euro of it. Because I was 28 years old, I had never asked my parents for a dime in my adult life, and I certainly wasn't going to give them financial leverage over my wedding. $21,500. I know that exact number the way you know your own social security number. We took brutal extra shifts. Liam picked up massive amounts of mandatory overtime on the ambulance. I worked holidays at the hospital for time and a half. We completely stopped going out to eat. We funneled every birthday check, every tax return, and every drop of disposable income into one joint savings account with a label on it, and we watched it slowly climb for over a year. I told my parents the exact dates 11 months in advance. 11 months. I sat in their living room with the dates formally printed on a card and handed it to them. This is when it is. This is exactly where it is. And this is the 2-week window where I will be completely out of the country. I did it early, and I did it in writing, specifically so there could never, ever be a version of history where anyone claimed they were blindsided. My mother took the card, looked at it for maybe 3 seconds, sighed loudly, and said, "Well, that is a terribly long way to make everybody travel. It's very inconsiderate." Then she seamlessly pivoted and asked whether I had seen the discount coupon for Grandma's pharmacy. No questions about the beautiful chapel. No questions about my dress. No questions about whether her only daughter was excited, or nervous, or happy. Just a passive-aggressive complaint about the travel, and an immediate change of subject back to her needs. I foolishly told myself that was just how she was. I have thought about those 3 seconds of silence a great deal since then. There is a kind of emotional disinterest that is genuine, and there is a kind that is a calculated weapon. I couldn't tell them apart yet. The first real sabotage move came 5 weeks out. My mother called on a Tuesday evening while I was exhausted, charting at my own kitchen table. "I've been thinking, Chloe," she said, using her reasonable county HR voice. The voice that means she has already made a decision for you. "Have you considered moving the wedding to the spring instead?" I rubbed my temples. "No, Mom, obviously not. We have massive non-refundable deposits. We have international flights booked. Our guests have taken time off work." I know, she cooed smoothly. "But your grandmother simply cannot make that brutal international trip. And wouldn't you want her at your wedding? It would break her heart." It was the smartest, most manipulative thing she ever said to me, because it was technically true. I desperately wanted Eleanor there, and because it was true, it took me 2 full days of agonizing guilt to realize it was a complete smokescreen. Eleanor couldn't fly to Italy. But Eleanor also couldn't have flown to Italy in the spring, or the spring after that, and everybody in that damn family knew it. Furthermore, Eleanor had already told me herself, sitting in her recliner and holding my hand, that she just wanted me to bring her back a massive photo album, mail her a piece of the wedding cake in a tin, and go live my life. My mother was using a disabled woman's physical limitations as an emotional crowbar to cancel something she didn't control, and disguising it as familial sentiment. I said no. She said, "All right then," in a clipped tone that clearly meant nothing was all right, and hung up. 3 weeks out, she came back with a compromise. This is always how toxic manipulators operate. They never ask for the insane whole thing twice. They ask for the insane whole thing once, get rejected, and then ask for a massive, unreasonable piece of it, letting you feel like you won by compromising. She called and said, "Look, nobody is asking you to cancel the whole thing. What if you just came home in the middle? Fly out to Italy on the 28th, get married on the 4th, fly home on the 6th, check on Grandma, and maybe go back later for a honeymoon when things are settled here. Just come home for 4 days to give us a break. Shorten it, don't cancel." As though a 1-4-hour international flight each way, right in the middle of my own honeymoon, was a perfectly reasonable errand to propose. "Mom," I said, my voice rising in disbelief. "We paid $21,500 for this. The flights alone were $5,200, and they are completely unchangeable. The villa is paid in full. 45 people have booked rooms. I am not flying back to Seattle in the middle of my own wedding trip." And then her voice did the thing it always does, the small, wounded, trembling thing that used to work flawlessly on me. "I just didn't think we had become such a massive inconvenience to you," she whispered. "I didn't realize that's what family meant to you now." There it was. The ultimate toolkit. Family comes first. Which, translated out of her manipulative language, meant, your life is the only flexible one. I held my ground. "You have 3 weeks to figure it out. You have my printed list of 3 highly rated local care agencies, and you have my phone number for a genuine 911 emergency only. I am going to Italy." She hung up without saying goodbye. Then came the absolute silence. 9 days of it. No calls, no texts, nothing. Even when I texted to ask how Eleanor's Thursday cardiology appointment had gone, she ghosted me. On the 10th day, my mother sent one single message. It said, "We finally found an agency. They want $35 an hour, and they require a strict 4-hour daily minimum. Hope Italy is worth it." I read that text probably 20 times sitting on my couch. $35 an hour, 4-hour minimum. My mother sent that text as a bitter complaint, as a receipt to prove my overwhelming selfishness. But what she had actually done, without realizing it, was put a concrete, open market price tag on the grueling labor I had done for absolutely free for 6 years while she watched TV in the next room. 60 hours a week at $35 an hour. You can do that math just as easily as I did, sitting there with my thumb hovering over the screen. The financial arithmetic of my parents' household only ever balanced if my time, my youth, and my professional skills were worth exactly $0 an hour. The very second somebody else's time got a real number attached to it, their entire fragile ecosystem collapsed. Let's put the two numbers next to each other. $21,000, $500 for a once-in-a-lifetime wedding, meticulously saved over 14 months by two people working brutal overtime. Versus $35 an hour with a 4-hour minimum, which is what the state market said just times one single day times of my labor was worth. Run that number over 6 years, and then tell me who in that family had been generous to whom. My mother sent me that text to make me feel small and guilty. It was the single most useful piece of perspective she ever gave me. I didn't answer her. Liam and I flew out of SeaTac on September 28 at 6:30 inches the morning, connecting through JFK and Rome. I had formally emailed my parents our flight numbers. I had printed out the itinerary. I had given them the name of the villa, the physical address, the front desk landline, and the exact two-time windows where we would be in the air and genuinely unreachable. My mother had not responded. My father had not responded. My sister Maya said she would see us in Italy. My brother Ethan said he would see us in Italy. That was the entire send-off from my family. We got to the airport at 4:15 a.m. We checked our heavy bags. I was forced to gate check the garment bag with my dress, and we sat down on the floor by gate 14 because every single chair was taken. And at 4:51 a.m., my phone lit up. Grandma collapsed. Trip is off. I didn't even think. My nursing instincts kicked in, overriding everything. I hit call. She answered on the very first half ring. I noticed it even then, through the adrenaline, because that is absolutely not what somebody standing in a chaotic hospital corridor does at 5:00 inches the morning. What happened? I demanded, my heart hammering in my throat. Is she okay? Where is she? Has she been intubated? And my mother replied, finally, in a voice that had absolutely zero fear in it. Not one single thread of panic. Just hot, righteous anger. Where have you been? I've been trying to reach you. I've been standing in airport security for 40 minutes, I snapped. Mom, where is Grandma? She collapsed in the hallway yesterday, my mother said dramatically. She couldn't get up. We had to call somebody to help lift her. It was terrible, Chloe. She needs constant care. She needs you. You are not getting on that plane. I heard the entire, hollow architecture of her lie in about 4 seconds. I am an ER and med-surg nurse. I have spent years listening to how terrified people describe genuine medical emergencies. My mother's description had absolutely no medical nouns in it. No hospital name. No time of admission. No mention of blood pressure, oxygen saturation, or a CT scan. No doctor's name. No diagnosis. Not one single word about whether she had hit her head on the way down, which is literally the very first thing anyone who has ever cared for an elderly stroke survivor asks. Yesterday? I said, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. This happened yesterday, and you waited to text me at 4:51 this morning, exactly when you knew I'd be at the gate? There was a pause of about 2 seconds on the line. And in those 2 seconds, I completely stopped being frightened for my grandmother, and I started being something much, much worse. Which hospital is she at? I demanded. She's home, my mother said defensively. So she was evaluated in the ER and discharged already? She was seen, my mother deflected. And then, her voice raising to a yell, don't do that. Don't you dare use your clinical interrogation voice on me. This is your grandmother's life. Mom, I said, cold as ice. I need you to answer the actual question. Was she admitted to a hospital? Yes or no? And my mother sneered into the phone, you are not a doctor, Chloe. And then, with absolutely no transition, she reached into the bottom of her toxic bag and pulled out the absolute last weapon she had. If you get on that plane to Italy, do not bother coming back to this family. I will tell every single person we know exactly what you did today. I will tell them you selfishly left a 7-8-year-old disabled woman bleeding on the floor just so you could go drink wine and play princess in Europe. And you know what? They will believe me. Because I am the one who will be here crying. The gate agent announced boarding for Group 2. Liam was already standing up, both of our heavy carry-on bags slung over his broad shoulders. He was watching me intensely, not saying a word, letting me make the choice. I love you, and I love Grandma, I said into the phone. And I am getting on this plane. I hung up on my mother for the very first time in my entire life. My hands didn't stop violently shaking until we were somewhere over the Midwest. We landed in Rome at 10:15 inches the morning the next day, local time. After 17 exhausting hours of travel, I turned my phone off airplane mode while we were still taxiing to the gate, mostly out of habit. It took maybe 40 seconds to find an international network. Then it started. It didn't just buzz once and stop. It vibrated continuously, like a trapped wasp, for close to 2 full minutes. It was so loud that the businessman across the aisle actually turned around and glared at me. 42 unread messages. 18 from my mother. 7 from my father. 5 from my Aunt Patricia. 4 from my Uncle Dave. 3 from random cousins I hadn't spoken to since a family funeral in 2018. And 1 from a local Seattle number I didn't recognize at all. Every single one of those messages was sent while Liam and I were 35,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean. That is the detail I keep coming back to. They were sent to a phone that everyone knew was utterly dark. They weren't attempts at communication. They were a paper trail being maliciously built. My mother's text ran in a psychotic sequence I could have scripted myself. Grandma is crying. Asking where you are. She is in so much pain. I hope the expensive wine is worth your soul. I have never been so deeply ashamed of a child in my life. You have thrown away everything this family sacrificed for you. And then, at the very bottom, time stamped about 7 hours after the others. I am filing a formal complaint with the State Board of Nursing for patient abandonment. I sat in seat 22C with my thumb hovering over that message while the seatbelt sign chimed off around me and people stood up to pull their bags down. I literally felt the floor of the plane tilt beneath me, because here is the horrifying thing about a nursing license. It is not just a fancy piece of paper hanging in a frame on a wall. It is my entire life. It is 4 years of brutal schooling, massive student loans, the NCLEX board exams, and every single hour of seniority I have ever earned. There is absolutely no version of my life, my mortgage, or my future that survives losing that license. My mother knew that. She had sat in the front row at my pinning ceremony and fake cried about how proud she was. Liam gently pried the phone out of my frozen hand, locked it, and shoved it deep into his own jacket pocket. We are getting our bags, we are getting the rental car. And you are not going to read another word of that toxic garbage until you have had a liter of water and a nap. He was right, but I didn't listen. I read all of it in the passenger seat of the rental car on the autostrada, with the breathtaking Italian countryside rolling past my window like a beautiful screensaver I couldn't focus on. That night, locked in the bathroom of our gorgeous stone suite, I didn't call my mother. I didn't call my father. I called Eleanor's own cell phone, the simple flip phone I had bought her and painstakingly taught her how to use. She answered on the 4th ring, the way she always did, saying hello? Like it was a question. Grandma? It's Chloe, I said, my voice cracking. Chloe, she said, her voice sounding completely normal, bright even. Are you there yet? Is it as pretty as the pictures? I sank down onto the cool tile floor. Grandma, I need you to tell me exactly what happened on Sunday. She was quiet for a second. Oh. That. Well. I got a little dizzy in the hallway on the way to the bathroom, and I sat down on the floor because that's what you always taught me to do. Remember, sit down before you fall down. And then my left leg was too weak to get back up, so your father had to come help lift me into the chair. That was it. Did you go to the hospital? I asked, holding my breath. Yes, she said dismissively. Your mother insisted. They took me to the ER, did a urine test, said it was just a mild urinary tract infection. They gave me a pill and sent me right home. I was back in time for Jeopardy. Same afternoon. She was home by 4:30 p.m. on Sunday. Not admitted. No head trauma. No collapse. No stroke. No 911 emergency. A simple UTI and a 7-8-year-old woman, which causes temporary dizziness and confusion, and is literally one of the most common, easily treatable things that happens to the elderly. I had personally caught and treated it in her twice before. My mother had known she was fine by Sunday afternoon. She held on to that information for a full day and a half, just so she could weaponize the word collapsed in a text at 4:51 a.m., on my departure day. Grandma, I said, my voice sounding hollow. Did Mom tell you my wedding was postponed? Eleanor sighed. She told me you were coming home, honey. She said you felt bad and were on your way back from the airport. I clamped my hand tightly over my mouth so she wouldn't hear me sob. And then my grandmother, who couldn't lift her own left arm to brush her hair, said the kindest, clearest thing anybody said to me that entire month. Chloe, listen to me. I have been sick for 6 years. I am going to be sick next week, too. Go get married. Have a beautiful day. Send me a picture of the dress. My sister Maya found me crying on the terrace the next morning. She is 23, and she has spent her entire life desperately trying to stay invisible so our parents wouldn't demand anything from her. She sat down next to me with 2 espressos and looked at her shoes. Mom told all of us you were coming home, Maya whispered. She told Aunt Patricia, Uncle Dave, and Dad's brothers that the wedding was postponed because you felt guilty and agreed to come back. She told them all Sunday night. Maya looked up at me. She told them before she even texted you at the airport. I sat with that chilling revelation for a long time. My mother had formally announced my decision to 11 extended family members before she had even attempted to inform me of it. Which means that when I said no at gate 14, I wasn't just declining a crazy request. I was publicly contradicting a lie she had already cemented as fact. And everything that came after it, every nasty text, every flying monkey relative, every insane accusation was not an attempt to change my mind. It was damage control. She had already written the script, and I was refusing to play my part. The harassment didn't stop. It multiplied. My Aunt Patricia, who hadn't bothered to visit Grandma in 2 years, wrote a massive Facebook essay about filial duty. My uncle Dave texted Liam, calling him a manipulative piece of shit. Someone I still suspect my mother, though she denies it, actually called the fire station where Liam works and told his shift commander that Liam had coerced his fiancée into abandoning a dying woman. Thankfully, Liam's commander has known him for a decade, laughed it off, and told him his in-laws were psychotic. On the 5th day, someone anonymously posted on the public Facebook page for the hospital where I work. It wasn't a review of the hospital. It was a targeted paragraph using my full name, claiming that a registered nurse on the med-surg floor had sadistically left her own disabled grandmother without food or care to go on a luxury vacation, and demanding to know if the hospital endorsed elder abuse. My charge nurse took a screenshot, deleted the comment, and sent it to me with 3 words: "This is insane." I sat on a beautiful terrace in Italy at midnight, drinking wine, reading my own name smeared in a stranger's sentence. The accusation didn't even logically hold together, because in the tragic story my mother was selling, this neglected woman was still living in a fully functional house with 2 able-bodied adult children. Not one single person who liked that post stopped to ask why my parents couldn't just microwave her a dinner. On October 1st, 3 days before I was supposed to walk down the aisle, Liam found me hyperventilating on the bathroom floor again. He sat down, took my phone, and said, "They are not going to stop. You cannot fight a PR war against a narcissist alone. We need a professional in our corner today." Through an online directory, we found Dr. Aris's former colleague, a clinical psychologist in Seattle specializing in coercive family dynamics and elder exploitation, who took emergency telehealth appointment. We did the session the next morning at 7 a.m. Italian time, sitting on the edge of the bed with the laptop balanced on a chair. I talked rapidly, crying, for 40 minutes. The doctor didn't interrupt once. She just took furious notes. When I finished, she looked into the camera and said, "I want to name 3 things for you, Chloe, and I want you to write them down. 1. What you are describing is not a loving family asking too much. It is a highly toxic household that has been structurally and financially dependent on your unpaid professional labor for 6 years, and has just violently discovered it cannot function without it. 2. The medical event on Sunday was real, but the hysterical description of it was not. Escalating the severity of a minor illness to compel someone's return is a documented coercive control tactic. It is deliberate emotional terrorism. 3. The relatives attacking you are not independently outraged. They have been fed a highly curated narrative. This is a classic recruitment pattern designed to make you feel isolated and crazy." And then she said the thing that changed the trajectory of my entire life. "I want you to document everything. Every text, every voicemail, every date, time, and exact wording. And more importantly, I want you to preserve every single record you have of the physical care you personally provided over the last 6 years. Do not delete anything. If your mother actually filed that nursing board complaint, you are going to need to explicitly prove what you did, and more importantly, what your parents' times did not do." I told her about the 7 spiral notebooks in the canvas bag in the trunk of my car parked at SeaTac. There was a long, heavy pause. And then she said, in a completely different, deadly serious tone, "Chloe, do not let anyone in your family get near that car." We got married on October 4th at 5:30 inches the evening in a stone chapel that has been standing since before America was a country. The light came in perfectly gold and sideways off the vineyards. I am not going to spend much time detailing it here, because that beautiful day belongs exclusively to Liam and me, not to this nightmare. I will only say 2 things. Maya cried harder than I did, and Liam's 86-year-old Italian great-uncle, who spoke exactly 0 English, held both my hands at the reception and said something incredibly warm and profound that nobody translated, and I have decided I don't ever want to know what it was. It was perfect. My parents, obviously, did not come. What I discovered later was that they had never intended to come. Their plane tickets were quietly cancelled for a full refund on September 6, 3 full weeks before my mother started her campaign to get me to compromise. The morning after the wedding, October 5th, my mother sent a bleak photograph of my grandmother sitting alone in her chair, looking small, unwashed, and tired. The caption read, "This is what you chose." And underneath the photo was a screenshot of a formal email confirmation. The state nursing board complaint had officially been filed. It had a reference number and everything. "Enjoy the honeymoon," the text ended. Liam stared at the screenshot for a long time. Then he smiled a cold, terrifying smile I had never seen on him before. "She has absolutely no idea what she just did," Liam said. "What do you mean?" I asked, panicking. "She reported my license." "Chloe," Liam said slowly, "you have never been legally employed as Eleanor's caregiver. There is no W-2, no agency contract, no supervisor, no shift log, and no pay stubs. In order to legally accuse you of abandoning a patient to the state board, she has to first establish to the state that you had times a patient. Who exactly does she think the state is going to find operating this illegal, unlicensed medical facility? He was closer to the explosive truth than either of us could have possibly known. Update 2. At 2:15 inches the afternoon on October 6th, sitting on a sun-drenched terrace in Tuscany 2 days into being a married woman, I got a phone call from a local Seattle area code. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. A stern man's voice said, "Am I speaking to Chloe?" "Yes," I said cautiously. "My name is Mr. Vance. I am a senior investigator with the State Department of Adult Protective Services. I am calling regarding an urgent priority report we received on Friday concerning a vulnerable adult named Eleanor." And then he said the sentence that completely ended my parents' lives as they knew them. "The report explicitly names you as her state-designated, paid caregiver of record. Can you please explain to me why you have abandoned your post for 2 weeks?" I froze. The world completely stopped spinning. "Mr. Vance," I said, my voice eerily calm. "I do not have that arrangement. I have never had that arrangement. I am a registered nurse, yes, but I am her granddaughter. There is no agency, there is no state contract. There is no employer, and there is absolutely no pay. I am currently in Italy. I got married on Saturday." There was a silence on the phone line that went on for so long I actually pulled the phone away from my ear to check if the call had dropped. When Mr. Vance finally spoke again, his voice was significantly slower, much lower, and highly calculated. "I am going to ask you some very specific questions, Chloe, and I would like you to take your time answering them." He asked exactly who administered her 11 medications. "Until 7 months ago, me. For free." He asked who did her complex wound care. "Me." "Her insulin injections?" "Me." "Her physical transfers?" "Me." "Overnight emergency coverage?" "Me." 4 nights a week, every week, for 6 years. He paused, the scratching of a pen audible over the line. "And what exact care duties did Susan and Richard perform?" I sat on a stone wall above an Italian river, 8 time zones away from the hell I grew up in, and I couldn't come up with an answer that took more than 3 words. "They lived there," I said simply. He asked whether I had any physical documentation of the care I had provided. "I have 7 spiral notebooks," I said. 6 years of daily entries. Exact times, medication doses, blood pressure readings, and skin integrity checks. All in my distinct handwriting. They are currently locked in the trunk of my car in long-term parking at SeaTac. I also have 5.5 years of electronic hospital badge swipe records that prove exactly which hours I was working on a med-surg floor, and which hours I was not. Mr. Vance asked me to repeat the part about the notebooks. Then he exhaled heavily. "Chloe, I want to be extremely, unequivocally clear with you about your legal position right now. You are absolutely not the subject of my concern anymore. You have zero legal duty of care to an adult relative in this state. A person cannot medically abandon a patient they were never professionally or legally assigned to." He cleared his throat. "The report filed by your mother explicitly alleged that you were the state-designated, paid caregiver of record. That is a highly specific legal claim with a highly specific financial meaning. And in order to make that claim, the complainant made a number of sworn statements to me about how the financial care in that household has been organized for the last 6 years. Those financial statements are what I am going to be looking at now." Then he told me he would be conducting an unannounced, mandatory home visit within 48 hours, and asked if I would consent to legally release my notebooks to the state. I said yes before he even finished the sentence. I called my therapist that evening and frantically explained that my mother had called APS on me to ruin my life, and now APS was investigating my parents instead. My therapist said something I will never forget. "Chloe, if a state investigation finds massive problems, it is strictly because the massive problems were already there. You didn't create anything, you were a sterile dressing on a rotting wound, and you were a very good one. Nobody could see the infection while you were covering it up. You finally took the dressing off 6 days ago, and now the state is looking at the rot." Mr. Vance showed up unannounced at my grandmother's house on the morning of October 8th. He called me on the 10th, our last full day in Italy, to give me a courtesy update. He went through his findings in a flat, bureaucratic monotone. Eleanor was alert, oriented, and very happy to have a visitor. However, her medications were dangerously unmanaged. They were stuffed into a 7-day plastic organizer filled out in handwriting she readily identified as mine, dated from before I left. 3 of her 11 critical prescriptions had been out of refills for more than 2 weeks. The antibiotic prescribed for her UTI on Sunday had 6 pills remaining in a course that should have been completely finished days ago. She had a new, early-stage pressure ulcer forming on her right heel that had not been offloaded, cleaned, or documented. She had not been showered in over a week because, in her own words to the investigator, Susan and Richard don't know how to use the shower bench. Furthermore, Mr. Vance had pulled the actual ER discharge record from Sunday. It documented a simple UTI and mild dizziness. No fall, no loss of consciousness. Same-day discharge at 4:12 p.m. The word collapse did not appear anywhere in the physician's notes. "And then there is a second, much larger matter," Mr. Vance said carefully. And I need to ask you on a recorded line whether you had any knowledge of it. Eleanor has been formally enrolled in the state in-home caregiver reimbursement program since August of the year after her stroke. That is exactly 5 years ago. Under that specific Medicaid program, a family member can be enrolled as a state-paid provider and financially reimbursed for documented, skilled hours of personal care provided to the patient. He paused, letting the silence hang. The enrolled, paid providers on that state file are Susan and Richard. The submitted, signed timesheets total exactly 40 hours per week, every single week, for 5 consecutive years. The state reimbursement rate over that period averaged $17.80 an hour. Mr. Vance took a breath. The total amount of taxpayer money paid out directly to your parents' bank account on this file is $185,200. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I remember Liam taking the phone gently out of my hand and putting it on speaker so he could hear. I remember the distant sound of an Italian church bell ringing, and I vividly remembered my mother's hand resting patronizingly on top of mine at the kitchen table when I was 24, exhausted and begging for help. Grandma doesn't qualify for those programs, honey. We checked. Family doesn't bill family. My mother worked as a senior billing and eligibility coordinator for county health services. She didn't misunderstand the Medicaid program. She literally administered programs exactly like it for a living. She looked me in the eye and told me it didn't exist, while she was already actively enrolled in it, pocketing the money. And every single one of those fraudulent timesheets, 40 hours a week, 260 weeks in a row, described in detail the grueling physical care that I had performed, at hours when their own driveway was completely empty, and my hospital badge was actively scanning into a med-surg floor in Seattle. Mr. Vance said the entire file had been officially referred to the State Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, MFCU, that morning. He said my 7 notebooks would be the final nail in the coffin, and then he said one last thing before hanging up. Chloe, the malicious report your mother filed against you on Friday is the absolute only reason anybody at the state opened this file. It had flown under the radar and hadn't been audited in 3 years. She handed us the rope. We flew home to Seattle on October 12th. I didn't go to my parents' house. I went straight to SeaTac long-term parking, retrieved the 7 notebooks from my trunk, and then I drove to my grandmother's house and let myself in with the spare key I had carried since I was 23. She was sitting in her chair. I pulled up the footstool, sat directly in front of her just like I had for 6 years, and I told her absolutely everything. I didn't soften the edges. I didn't protect my parents. I told her about the fake APS report, the nursing board threat, and the $185,200. She listened without interrupting. When I got to the massive dollar amount, her face changed in a heartbreaking way I had never seen before. Chloe, she whispered, her eyes filling with tears. I asked her. Every single Christmas, I asked your mother whether you were being fairly compensated by the state for all those long hours, because I refused to be a financial burden on a young woman just starting her life. I told her I would sell the house to pay you if I had to. She swallowed hard. Susan looked me in the eye and said yes. She told me you were making more per hour than she was. She said it right in front of your father, and he nodded. My grandmother had spent 5 years profusely thanking me for a job she genuinely believed I was being highly paid to do. She had been constantly apologizing to me for being work, when the grueling work was the only honest, real thing in the entire sickening arrangement. She had been sitting in that chair feeling like a financial line item burden. And the whole time, she was one just not on my ledger. She was their cash cow. On October 15th, Liam and I met with a ruthless elder law and family litigation attorney. I brought a massive box containing the 7 notebooks, 5.5 years of official hospital badge swipe records, 340 pages of exported text messages with timestamps, the Sunday ER discharge summary, my therapy session notes, and the reference number for the nursing board complaint. The lawyer was in his 60s. He read through the files in dead silence for 40 minutes. When he finally set his pen down, he looked at me and said, "In 28 years of practicing law, I have never had a slam dunk fraud file assemble itself this cleanly." He explained 3 things. First, the nursing board complaint would be immediately dismissed without investigation, because a nursing board's legal jurisdiction begins at a formal, professional patient-provider relationship, which I definitively did not have. Second, I had absolutely no legal duty of care to my grandmother as a grandchild. Third, he said, tapping the notebooks. On the money, you have a highly viable civil claim for unjust enrichment against your parents personally, because they fraudulently received payment for services you rendered, but I am not going to recommend you file it. Civil family litigation will cost you $40,000 in retainers and take 3 years of your life. The state Medicaid fraud unit is going to completely destroy them for free. We just need to make sure they know they can never contact you again. He drafted a terrifying cease and desist letter that afternoon. It legally required my parents to immediately stop contacting me and Liam, to stop directing third parties to harass us, to stop posting defamatory statements online, and to cease any further retaliatory regulatory filings. It was hand-delivered by a courier to their house. My mother called my phone exactly 30 minutes after the courier left. I didn't pick up. She left a frantic, screaming voicemail that is 5 minutes and 41 seconds long. I have listened to it exactly once. It is mostly incoherent screeching about ungrateful brats and how I always thought I was better than them. She never once, in almost 6 minutes, mentioned the $185,200. The nursing board formally dismissed the complaint against me on October 24 with a 2-paragraph letter stating no action and no finding of jurisdiction. The Medicaid fraud investigator subpoenaed my hospital badge records directly from HR, cross-referenced them with the 260 timesheets my mother had signed, and found over 1,800 instances of blatant, mathematically impossible time fraud. Claiming to be bathing Eleanor at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday when my mother's own county badge showed her logged into her office computer 15 miles away, while my hospital badge showed me on the med-surg floor. In February, the state hammer finally fell. My parents were officially ordered to repay the entire $185,200 in full, assessed an additional $50,000 civil penalty on top of it, permanently disqualified from ever receiving state reimbursement funds again, and formally referred to the district attorney for criminal fraud review. My mother was immediately placed on unpaid administrative leave from her county health services job the exact day the state referral letter hit her supervisor's desk. She quietly resigned in disgrace 11 days later before they could publicly fire her and strip her pension. My father was forced to put his beloved secondary HVAC van and all his commercial equipment up for fire sale in March just to cover the initial lawyer fees to keep them out of prison. My grandmother now has a fully licensed, wonderful home health aide from an actual accredited agency, 40 hours a week, arranged by the state and paid for by the exact same program my mother claimed wasn't available. Her heel ulcer has completely healed. My brother Ethan called me in January from a burner phone. He told me the house had been an absolute toxic war zone since October. He said he and Maya had both secretly known something was deeply wrong with the family dynamic for years, but never had the vocabulary to name it. He asked me, very quietly, if I hated them for not standing up for me. No, I said honestly. I don't hate you. I just escaped. I am not available to be the meat shield anymore. I think I want to escape, too, Ethan whispered. Then pack a bag and leave, I told him, and he did. He and Maya both moved out into a cramped shared apartment in April, leaving my parents completely alone in a massive, quiet house with their crippling debt and their impending criminal charges. The absolutely only other time I ever heard my father's voice was on the last day of February. I picked up because I didn't recognize the caller ID. He didn't say hello. So, I hope this is what you wanted, he spat, his voice dripping with venom. And there it was, the ultimate narcissistic reframe. The delusional narrative they had been practicing in the mirror since October. We just asked our daughter for a little bit of help with her own grandmother, and she maliciously called the state to ruin us. Dad, I said, and I was genuinely surprised at how steady and cold my voice sounded. You didn't ask me for a little help. Mom aggressively demanded I cancel my wedding 6 days before it happened. When I got on the plane anyway, she lied and told me Grandma collapsed, when Grandma had actually been discharged hours earlier with a simple UTI. When I still refused to abandon my honeymoon, she maliciously reported me to APS, falsely claiming I was a state-designated caregiver to get me arrested. And then she tried to revoke my nursing license and destroy my career. I took a deep breath. I didn't call anybody, Dad. I got married in a beautiful chapel, I drank wine, and I came home. Everything the state investigator found, the two of you voluntarily wrote down, fraudulently signed, and mailed in yourselves, 40 hours a week, 260 weeks in a row, while I slept on a tiny daybed in the spare room doing your dirty work. There was a very long, suffocating silence on the line. Then my father muttered, "Your grandmother asks about you. She has my direct number, and she knows how to use it," I replied. "In fact, she called me on Tuesday. Do not ever call this number again." I hung up and blocked him. My parents fully expected me to cancel my once-in-a-lifetime wedding to be my grandmother's live-in nurse for free. But the truth is, it was never actually free. It cost exactly $185,200. It was just in their names. And the absolute only reason a single person on this earth ever went looking for that money was because my mother picked up the phone to ruthlessly punish me for getting on an airplane. I faced police calls due to a classmate's misunderstanding about my bruises. Now, she must change classes and face the consequences. I, 19, am in a nursing program. We do a lot of physical exams on each other to practice, which involves wearing shorts and tanks. It's important to mention that I am permanently blind in one eye. I'm constantly running into walls, doors, railings, plants, people, animals, everything. As you can guess, I'm covered in bruises 90% of the time, on my blind side. In the course one day we were talking about signs of abuse and the teacher said constant bruising. I raised my hand and added that it's important to talk to the patient if they're an adult, before calling the police, as it could be something else. She asked for an example, so I rolled up my sleeve and explained that the bruises were from door handles of the school, which were varying colors and heights. She nodded and agreed. She said that with children, we call the authorities the moment we suspect abuse. With adults, we first attempt to talk to them, and if their reason seems valid, we don't call. The lessons continued, and about a week later, the cops showed up at my door. They told me they had received a report that I was being physically abused and always covered in bruises. I explained my disability to them. They checked my home, talked to my family, and found no further signs of abuse. When I asked questions, they told me they got my address from the university because they take abuse seriously here. When they talked to the university about me, the university was very concerned and just wanted to help me. After the police left, I talked to some people at the university, including a psychologist, just so they could be sure I had no mental signs of abuse. Then life went on. Well, I was still coming in bruises every day, and one of my classmates came up to me. She told me our classmate Kay was telling people she was thinking about calling the police again because I'm still covered in bruises. I got my classmate's report written down, alongside a few others, and waited. Sure enough, police showed up again. Same song and dance, but this time I told the university that Kay was using the police to harass me and I wanted something done about it. The university decided the best course of action was to move her from my labs to the other ones so she couldn't see whether I was bruised or not. She's now told me I'm an asshole and that she was just trying to help me and I didn't need to mess up her whole university schedule. Relevant comments. Deleted user. She really didn't learn the lesson the class was taught, did she? A lesson she needs to understand if she's going to work in this job. If she'd done what the teacher taught, talk to the adult, then none of this would have happened. She brought this on herself. Comment 1. She was harassing you by carrying on calling the police. Once can definitely be out of concern, but after everything was checked out and you were safe, she decided to continue, so it's totally on her. OP, I was fine with the once, it's okay, people make mistakes, but after the second time I wanted to make sure it'd stop. Comment 2, I'm not blind in either eye and I'm also always bruised. My legs and sides always have a big purple knot somewhere. It's a daily occurrence. Multiple doctors have said it's not a medical issue. I just have terrible spatial awareness for where my body is. I run into door handles, my work desk, and counters. I get my clothes caught on stuff all the time. It's entirely my own lack of attention and clumsiness. Comment 3, Kay knew about your disability and literally learned in class about talking with the patient before reporting. Additionally, Kay could be a serious danger to her patients if she did this with a DV case. The abuser may escalate when confronted by police, which can create a dangerous and potentially deadly situation. Comment 4, Kay found out the consequences of 1. Not believing you, and 2. Not minding her own business. She needs to learn to rein that in or she's not going to keep a job as a nurse with assumption-making skills like that. Comment 5, genuine question. How do you get bruised almost every day? Do you have low sight in your other eye as well? Do you wear eyeglasses? I'm blind in one eye as well, by birth. I'm short-sighted, but I rarely get bruised running into things. I usually sprain my ankle due to not noticing unlevel ground or hit my toe on the wall corners due to blind spots once or twice a year, but the peripheral vision and the angle at which I turn my head to keep my eye at center is more than enough to not bump into things so frequently. OP, I'm nearsighted in the other eye. Stuff on my left side is just impossible to see. Glasses get in the way of some of my peripheral vision. Keeping my head turned too long causes stiffness in my neck and I have to be able to turn my head fast and quick. As I said, well, I get bruised a lot. It doesn't interfere with my job. It's something I've grown up with. And I bruise easily. I don't bump into anything at home, but in the outside world I do. Comment 6, I ask this as a nurse, and I mean no disrespect, but are you sure that nursing is the best field for you given that impairment? OP, yes, I love helping people, and I'm fully capable of the job. I'm the only one who ever gets injured in my daily life, lol. And it's typically because I'm not paying enough attention to my surroundings and don't notice something new and trip on it. Update 1. Okay, so, I'm blind in one eye, I run into random stuff if I'm not paying enough attention, I'm covered in various bruises, showed this during class while talking about abuse and how we have to talk to adults before calling, girl decided to call the cops on me twice claiming I'm abused, resulting in me forced to go to counseling, talk to therapists, police, etc. until everyone was assured I wasn't abused. So anyways, it's been a bit since that post and I have big updates on her. I called her Kay in the other story, so let's stick with that. So anyways, I had previously gotten her removed from my labs, we still shared class not lab, I figured everything was fine now and she'd leave me alone, but I was wrong. Not only was she spreading rumors that I was abused, but she called the cops again. Apparently more than once, as the other 2 times the cops said they had a report of abuse. This time they said reports. When I asked how many reports, they said that it was multiple people. So I don't know if others in class called or she had her family do so. I just don't know. They couldn't tell me who called due to privacy when it comes to reporting, to try and make sure abusers don't attack the reporters. Apparently my university had attempted to stop them when the cops spoke to them, but the cops had to check anyways, so they came after talking to the university anyways. And again we did the same song and dance. I told them I felt like someone was using the cops to harass me. And the cops took this. They said no one would show up again. And anyone that calls would now have their name taken down, and if they call after being told not to, they'd be charged with harassment. Well, that was about a week ago, and someone continued calling, tried to claim a different name, didn't realize they record phone numbers as well. So there's your update on Kay. She called again, and again, and again until it got her charged with harassment as well as misuse of police resources. Not certain what's gonna happen going forward or if I'll be called to testify. I'm not certain what's happening, but I haven't seen her since I was informed that she's still called, which I found out from another classmate. Relevant comments. Deleted user. What's the school doing about this? Is she getting expelled for harassing you? OP, seeing as she's probably ending up with a criminal charge, she will be expelled. Comment 1, you're not just protecting yourself. You're protecting the patients she might have had in the future. She's got big issues. Comment 2, this really pisses me off. My toddler has von Willebrand disease, so her blood doesn't work the way it should. She is so covered in bruises all the time that she looks like a Dalmatian. She also has paper-thin skin, so she has many cuts in a day. One day she even got the corner of her eye open from the corner of a pillow. Last summer we got a call from the CPS, someone called them that we are beating our child and that they have seen it. This is not true. And if you really saw a parent beating their 1-5-year-old child, wouldn't you stop it when it was happening? Not called a week later. Best part was that we weren't even in the country when the beating took place. Someone was just mad because we have been renovating our house and the noise was too much for them. Pure harassment. Comment 3. I read your other post and was glad to find this update. While I agree Kay is definitely in the wrong and needs to have the consequences of her actions. Hopefully not being a nurse is one of them, since she seems unfit for it. I really came here because I was so upset about how people were saying you shouldn't be a nurse because you are blind in one eye. My brother is blind in one eye. Actually, he has had a prosthetic eye since he was a kid. He has been a nurse for more than 30 years. ER nurse, cardiac surgery nurse, trauma unit. He's done it all while having no sight on one side. People that say you can't be a nurse need to F off. They are narrow-minded AHs. Also, my brother rides a motorcycle and has done since he was a teen. Do what makes you happy and F all the rest of them. Good luck on your career. Update 2. I don't know exactly where to start with this post, but I kinda want to give this update because I'm hoping it's the last one. So I made my last post only 12 days ago and shit kinda went down. Now, I need to explain that quite a bit of this is secondhand, because I luckily avoided the crazies. So basically, Kay does not know where I live, knows the general town, but nothing else. I did invite one girl in our class to my house to work on a project. She was the only person other than the university that knows where I live. Kay knows this, because her and girl who Emma call Lily, are kinda not related. Lily's cousin is married to Kay's cousin, so they knew each other prior to the program but not really well, and Lily is also the one that told me about Kay still calling even after the police promised me they would not show up again. Which they haven't, they just started taking down the numbers and keeping track of who called, when, and did they call after being told not to. So basically, Kay knew me and Lily were paired up for the project, knew Lily came to my house, did not know where the house was, or what it looked like, just that it was in a town X kilometers away from where they were. They also knew the town name via Lily's mom, so I got warned by Lily that Kay's mom was going to try to find me to get me to drop Kay's charges. I'm not the one charging her. The police are. I have not pressed any charges despite some people saying I should get a restraining order. Lily warned me, and I hid in my house and did not leave until Lily told me that Kay's mom had returned home. Kay's mom then proceeded to harass Lily in an attempt to get Lily to give Kay's mom my address so she could knock on my door instead of driving around aimlessly hoping to spot me. Lily refused, and deleted all text between me and her to ensure that even if Kay's mom stole her phone, and somehow got past the password, that she would never get my address. Lily then informed the university of the situation, and had proof via text, that the university had her print off and give to them, and the police. The university's security are now watching for Kay's mom's car, and Kay's mom. Security is informed that if and when I'm at school they are to escort me to and from my car, My car is also to be parked near cameras, by order of the university, until the situation dies down. Luckily I'm at clinicals and not anywhere near the university. Kay was kicked out before clinicals so has no idea which clinics the students are at, or which I'm at. Had she stayed in longer, she'd have a literal list posted to the class page, about where I'm at, and where in the building I'm at. Kay's family apparently was informed by the police that any attempts to contact me would be harassment, so says Lily. Can't guarantee, but yeah. I kinda don't know how to feel. The next time I have to go to the uni is for exams in like 3 weeks, so hopefully Kay's family doesn't hold on to this that long. Until then I'm safe in a building filled with security, locked doors, and places to run. The placement was also informed about this situation and with pictures from Lily, who's at a different placement, are watching for Kay's family, and has banned them from the premise in advance. So yeah, if this goes no further I won't update anymore, but if it gets worse I guess I'll update after my exams and the HSI. Wish me luck because I'm gonna try to not stress too much about the K situation and focus on my finals and HSI, instead of that, but don't know how that go. Hope y'all are enjoying my mild suffering and it entertains you, even if only a bit, so that some good can come from this situation I can't believe I'm in right now. So, yeah, thanks again for the words of encouragement and kindness some of you showed me during this insanity. Wish Lily some luck as she's being bombarded by her family to give Kay's mom my address, phone number, etc. And doing her best to hold out on this while making sure her phone is never out of her sight on the off chance she leaves it open. Anyways, hopefully this is goodbye. If not, well, I'll see y'all in 3 weeks for another update. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I don't understand why there is so much drama from Kay and her family. Like what the heck is happening that they feel the need to harass you? Have you presented a restraining order? OP. Hi. I still don't feel a restraining order necessary as they really only keep people willing to listen away, and that's not really the case here. I plan to just avoid it, the police and courts handle it and forget it ever happened. Comment 2. This is going too far. What's wrong with that woman? And has her whole family gone insane? Not only are they harassing you but they're putting your family in danger. She's basically accusing them of abuse. It could damage their reputation but also put their job on the line depending on their fields. It's good that they are providing you with security but it's still not enough. Lily won't possibly be able to warn you every time that woman goes out of her house. In case she eventually finds your house and comes to threaten you, you should probably get cameras for your door to record everything. When you say she was kicked out, do you mean the school? Because I really hope your university realized how unhinged Kay's behavior has been and how unfit she is to start a career in this field. Not only does she lack common sense but she's also acting in a deranged manner. Targeting someone like that is not acceptable, especially not under the fake pretense of trying to help. Had you really been a victim of abuse, you would have probably been even more traumatized by this situation. OP. Hi, so yes my house has cameras already, and Kay has been removed from school due to pending charges and should they fully go through she will never come back. Her access to everything has been suspended and she's basically already expelled. They are just awaiting charges to go through before they actually push the expulsion through. My mom tried to force a reconciliation between my sister and me, but it backfired. Now, I don't know if I want her in my life anymore. I started dating my brother's best friend when I was 16. We were together until I graduated high school when he proposed and I rejected it. There was a lot of drama, with my family asking me to reconsider because we could have a long engagement, or make a promise to reconcile. My relationship with my brother, 36, suffered for a while, but the one with my sister, 32, never recovered. She was sure my ex was the best fit for me and became unbearable when she started dating my ex's brother. My ex was invited everywhere by my siblings, even to some family holidays, but I didn't say anything since he was their friend too. That is until my sister started to push for us to get back together. My sister did everything from trying to get us on blind dates to making us share a room during holidays. No matter the occasion, my ex was invited to it. After a while I had enough and asked my parents to intervene. They were clear with my siblings and stopped inviting my ex to things or allowing him to tag along so much. It was slightly better but while my brother backed off my sister didn't. It all came to a crash when I met my husband during a semester abroad. He was from another university but the same country and we just clicked. It was magical for me and we got engaged after dating for a year. My family was very happy for me, except my sister. She kept insisting I was in the honeymoon phase and will grow out of it. I clearly didn't and after many, can't express enough how many fights and attempts to reunite me with my ex I simply let her know if she pulled anything again I will stop talking to her. What does she do after that warning? Makes me her MOH and requests I spend all my time with the bridal party aka my ex and sets one of her friends as my husband's date. We didn't realize until we were at the reception and the poor girl tried to make a pass at my husband. My sister said that since we are not married it was okay to explore things with other people. I left the party and the next day spoke with my parents and brother, explained that while I won't make them choose I will not talk to my sister ever again, and if they try to fix stuff between us I will simply cut contact with them too. My mom was devastated and tried to negotiate, but my dad and brother said they would respect my decision, and apart from 2 attempts from my mom I haven't spoken, written, or anything with my sister in the past 6 years. My sister has tried everything to reconcile with me. From gifts to tantrums, but I simply don't talk to her at all. If we are at a family event or dinner I simply act like she doesn't exist. At first she made snarky comments or tried to create drama, but since nobody backed her up she gave up. She did have a meltdown when she was informed she was invited to my wedding but would not be part of any preparation. My brother says he feels guilty for going along with it for so long, and his relationship with my ex has suffered since my ex. They still talk but they are not as close anymore. The issue. My mom's birthday was a couple of weeks ago and I finally announced we are expecting our first child. This is not the first grandchild but is the first granddaughter. Everybody was very happy except my sister. My mom noticed that and asked me for tea the other day. My sixth sense told me not to go but I wanted to be positive. The first thing I noticed when I arrived was my sister's car. Then as I entered the door there was my sister, her husband, my ex and my ex-male. They wanted to have an intervention since my childish tactic has gone for so long. My ex said that he was just trying to be romantic but he understands I couldn't appreciate it. His mom said I was just hurting my sister for wanting the best for me and she apologized already so I need to forgive her. I was just sending texts to my family, dad, brother, husband, and looking at my mom in disbelief. My Bill had the balls to tell me I was a hurtful person and I need to learn how to act like an adult since I'm having a baby now. Then my mom began reading a letter about how hurt she was that her daughters weren't close, how my sister was wrong but she was well intended, etc. Then my sister read her letter and began crying and telling me basically another version of what the rest did. I said nothing to anybody, just sat there until my brother arrived. He was angry beyond anything I've ever seen before. He grabbed my stuff and told them all he was really disappointed and disgusted. We went outside and sat in his car until my dad and husband arrived. By then I was just sobbing and he kept saying sorry. I am unsure what happened there but I sent everybody, except mom, an email with my lawyer's number info attached and stated I don't wish to be contacted by any of them ever again, and if they do I will go to the police. Nobody has contacted me but I know from my dad my mom and sister are hysterical. They told him they hope to repair things and for my sister to be able to be in my baby's life, maybe possibly being a godmother. My dad is staying with my brother at the moment. They support me but some others in the family don't. I've even had mutual friends call me since they are worried about my sister's well-being and asking me what happened since she is now going by the narrative that my husband is keeping me away from my family. I hate having my business in public but I did go the public route and posted a long FB post about everything that happened. Sister, Bill and ex are being dragged, which even if it wasn't 100% intended I feel is deserved. Now, my mom has been inconsolable, which does make me feel bad but not as bad as she made me feel with her little intervention. I agreed to have a talk with her a couple of days ago and laid the ground rules for any possible future interaction, including therapy, family therapy, clear boundaries, no sharing information about me with my sister, and separate holidays. Most important, if she ever pulls anything like this again she will for sure be cut off. She feels this is too much but is willing to do it. She thought it meant immediate access to baby news and it is all solved, but I told her it is a process and she needs to prove she has improved. My dad and brother refuse to talk to my sister and they keep apologizing for not stopping it earlier. We've forgiven them since they were able to move on and grow. My husband supports whatever I decide but my MIL is unsure. Cutting my mom's access to her granddaughter is the way to go but says it is ultimately my decision. I am torn about what to do with my mom. Relevant comments. Commenter. What is their logic? Like, now that you're pregnant, you should stop playing make-believe with your husband and realize your happiness ever after is with your ex. What about your baby? Your ex and his family are gonna accept her. OP, my sister claims she is not trying to get us together anymore but that I can't take away her chance to be an aunt. She says I'm a bad sister for being close with my SILs, who are amazing people. I obviously don't believe her. My issue is what to do with my mom. Commenter. She couldn't be your best friend without you dating your ex? OP, I wish I could tell you but I have no idea what her thought process is. My husband has the theory she is just mentally unwell. The ex. The most ridiculous and scary thing is he still has the mixtapes, CDs, I made him when we were dating. Those things are about 20 years old and he still holds on to them. Commenter, I'm kind of surprised your stalker ex, and yes I will call him that, is still in your brother's life. That said, hold firm with your mother. No timelines. She has to show she can stick to your rules. Sister needs to live with the consequences of her actions. OP. To be fair to my brother, he did start to cut him off when I told my parents I was very uncomfortable with my ex around all the time. I was living away for college but would visit my family during breaks. He also made a very big effort to make my husband feel welcome, which deteriorated his relationship with my ex even more because he felt betrayed by my brother. Nowadays my husband is one of my brother's closest friends and he only speaks with my ex when it is about our nephew or to not be rude. Commenter, you need to realize that your mom is supporting all of this. A big reason Big Sis is continuing this is because she knows your mom also thinks it's right. OP. This makes me very sad since my mom was always so nice to my husband and now I am re-evaluating their whole relationship. OP's background and culture, not Indian nor from a religious family. My parents were good, nice parents. They thought it was a romantic thing at the beginning but later realized it wasn't. They encouraged me to go to college and everything. Now I know my dad actually supported me and my mom might have just played along and have the same beliefs as my sister. My sister had this idea we would be best friends married to brothers. Update 1. The edit I wanted to post but couldn't. I want to thank you for the amount of support and advice so far. I want to give a little more info that is in my comments since there are too many for me to answer them all individually. My ex and I broke up when I was 18, he is 37 now. The reason for our breakup was that I didn't want to get married or engaged. My sister's insistence comes from the fixation of wanting the both of us to marry brothers and being best friends. My mom has always been so nice to my husband but I am beginning to think it was all a facade, which makes me very sad. My ex has been with people since the breakup. He also has 2 kids with an ex but he's never been married. My sister says that is a very romantic thing to do since he has only ever wanted to marry me. I should also mention his obsessive behavior is not only with me. I know from the grapevine he was very similar with the mother of his children but now he is refocusing on me because my sister is encouraging it since she needs his help on getting back in my good graces so she can be a good aunt. My brother did start to cut him off when I told my parents I was very uncomfortable with my ex around all the time. I was living away for college but would visit my family during breaks. He also made a very big effort to make my husband feel welcome, which deteriorated his relationship with my ex even more because he felt betrayed by my brother. Nowadays my husband is one of my brother's closest friends and he only speaks with my ex when it is about our nephew, sister's son, or to not be rude. Both my parents seem to be supportive of me not wanting to be around my ex so much, but I guess only my dad was in agreement. On the day of the tea party my mom told him she was making me my favorite tea and sweets, but he couldn't stay since we would have quality time together. My dad left to go hang with my uncle since he thought it was a nice sentiment from my mom. He's very pissed off. My husband tried very hard with my sister when they met but now he just ignores her and believes she is mentally unwell. We don't know if she is or not, still there is no excuse for how she behaves. They invited the ex and his mom because they thought it would be good for me to face the root of my issues with my sister, or at least their official version. Also, we are not Indian, not really religious, my husband and I are from the same race. There is also no wealth disparity between my ex and my husband, if there is it would be in favor of my husband. Lastly, my CLs, both my brother's wife and husband's sisters, are enraged about the situation. My husband and his sisters will be talking with their mom about her comment. My brother and his wife are considering going NC with my mom permanently, in the meanwhile they will not allow her to see my nephews for a bit. The more I read, the more I think I might have to go NC with my mom for the sake of my kid. My husband is heartbroken to think all their interactions were fake but says he is even more enraged she made me cry and doubt I was a good person. I realize there are still countless conversations to have with my family about my mom, but I will definitely be going for a restraining order against my sister and the ex. The proper semi-update. The state of my family so far. I had a conversation with my mother but she insists she knew best. I am a bad person and she will be getting grandparents' rights or even custody. I don't know what she said, but I still panicked so we sent her a letter about it. My dad moved out definitely. He told her that he could not sign on to her terrorizing his kid. My brother and his wife also decided to go to NC. I know it seems very sudden but I think I understood the level of despair I had after the intervention. My husband told them afterward they had to think very well about what they appreciated and to be kind and receptive to everything but would not raise a kid on a toxic environment. Reason 3271637 Why I love my husband. My husband is very heartbroken about my mom and her fakeness. He says she will never get anything from him. That is as much as revenge goes here. My husband and sisters talked to my MIL about her comment and made her understand why it was very out of it, as many of you assume she is a very loving mom, from a loving family. My dad and brother keep apologizing for any role they played in this. My dad can't believe it went to this point. He says it is still surreal for him. Regardless, they support me no matter what and say they are willing to help me fight whatever ridiculous fight my mom or sister put up. Update 2. I want to thank the lovely messages and encouraging words. I decided to post it here so it wouldn't be deleted like the original was. Things are great and horrible at the same time, but I'm trying to remain positive about everything. My brother and his wife sat my nephews down and explained that Grandma was ill and tried to hurt Auntie Diamond and the little cousin. They explained Grandma would not be part of their lives anymore, but that doesn't mean she doesn't love them. It was really hard, but the kids are smart. They were also told another aunt is no longer in their life, but they don't care because they dislike her. Not because of me alone, simply because she is not exactly great with them either. My mom lost it when she was informed and started claiming she had rights and she will get to see her grandchildren. My dad is looking for a permanent place but will stay with us until January, mainly due to my brother's MIL coming to visit and us having the space. He is really sad. Has called divorce lawyers already, moved bank stuff, etc. He has been getting countless emails, messages and calls from my mom, but he doesn't reply to anything. The lawyer told him to not block her right now. He considered maybe forgiving her, but I got a huge spike in my blood pressure a couple days after my last post here, because she decided to come to my place with my sister. My sister had never been to my home. My mom knew I didn't want her there, but I guess that doesn't matter anymore. The cleaning lady let them in since she knows my mom, and I haven't had the time to inform her she was not allowed to come in anymore. I was just coming from some errands and I saw the car. This time I didn't get in. I called all of my relatives and my SIL, husband's sister, was the one closer to me. She confronted them and told them either they leave or I call the police on them for trespassing. They left and I started feeling bad. We went to the doctor and they told me all the excitement was not good and I need to start relaxing or it would hurt the baby. My dad went home with my brother, uncle and my husband and took every single thing he could think of. My husband says my sister was there too and she kept screaming at him that he destroyed her family. My dad told my mom and sister they almost killed the baby and he also doesn't want to talk to any of them again. My sister kept sending messages to my brother, begging for help, but it did not happen. I am devastated and very sad for my nephew since he is losing so much of his family because his mother has some wacky ideas, but it is what it is. As per the custody and grandparent rights my mom wants to throw around so much, my lawyer sent her a letter stating she caused harm to my health and the baby, and if she keeps harassing me it will become an official legal matter. My brother also sent her a letter accusing her of harassing me. Both, mom and sister, have refused to go to therapy. They might be mentally ill, but with all of this coming to light it is obvious they have been in agreement for a long time. I will focus on spending the holidays with my family, being healthy and going to therapy. Update 3. Hi, I've received some requests for an update and had a little time, so decided it could be a good fit. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart from your comments, messages and every advice, because I feel we owe you for being even more paranoid than we were being. A couple people asked me what method we used to know the gender of the baby. I announced it after 20 weeks. The reason for waiting so long is we have experienced a loss in the past, which we were preparing to announce when it happened, and we wanted to be sure and have a safe feeling about the announcement. Also, we were naive enough to think it would be special for my mom. And you were right. After posting I handed it to my husband and he read your messages, comments and advice for some days. We swiped the house and thankfully found nothing but felt extremely unsafe, so we went to a hotel with my dad. But then we realized there was a tracker on my fur baby's vest. He is a very small dog and gets cold a lot, so he has a funny vest. Never in a million years would I have thought of looking there, but we discovered the tracker when my dad walked him around the hotel area and my sister came and asked him about me and reconciliation. I was really upset, so we decided to move. Thankfully we can afford it. We are renting at the moment and also renting out our place, so it is not just empty. I used to love that house, but now I feel it is ruined and tainted somehow. Sadly, my parents' house feels the same, and not only for me. We all, brother, husband, dad, SIL, and even my husband's family, changed our numbers, got new electronics and notified employers, friends and police. We also started therapy and family therapy. My dad and brother feel extreme guilt over the situation even if I've truly forgiven them, but we are healing as a unit. My sister and mom insist they are not wrong and they don't need therapy. My dad made a new will in which my sister's son gets a trust fund and some inheritance, but my sister gets a token amount. He is truly done with her. I was feeling bad for her, but I decided to focus my energy on my baby. She is here and we are blessed. It is not the experience I thought of since my mom is not around me anymore, but so many friends and family members have truly surprised us. By the end we were so paranoid we started testing some people we were unsure of, telling them I was going into labor. It worked like a charm. We discovered who was still feeding info to my mom and sister and cut them out. The rest understood when we explained the reasoning. My ex, whom my friends now call Bates, went around saying the baby was his cause. We've been having a torrid affair due to my undying love for him. Nobody believes him anymore, but it made my husband contact Bates's employer and tell him about all the craziness. Long story short, he was put on a suspension pending internal reviewing. I am almost positive he will be fired since they have asked us for more and more info and they seem really apologetic. My mom has tried to find us, but all the people that know of our location have gone NC with her. My dad's lawyer sent her a letter stating that due to her instability all correspondence will be through lawyers now. It has been us and my dad because I felt so bad for him being alone. He has promised he will be fine and nothing is my fault, but I still feel awful. He has been the best babysitter, feeder, diaper changer in the universe. My nephews are loving as always, and my dad even got a visit with my sister's son. It came about because she kept making videos threatening to hurt herself if my husband didn't stop alienating her family, so my dad emailed her about seeing her son and told her he would call the police about her threats, so that seems to have stopped it. Lastly, someone brought up Bates's false hope. It can't be further from the truth. I spent years uncomfortable because I thought he would move on. Then after I spoke up and then met my husband, I spent such a long time fighting my sister about it. I had a very long engagement, which is why I married after my sister. I still love my mom and sister, but I choose a healthy life for me and my family over that love. I have discovered a lot of loyalty, love and compassion through this whole thing. As strange as it may seem, I feel lucky it all exploded. Hopefully it is not much of a ramble. Big hugs from me. Update 4. We officially moved into a new house, with my dad moving into the guest house. We had many discussions both in and outside therapy, and we decided that while it would be good for him to be with us, we all still need our space. We are still renting out the old place and will be deciding what to do later. My dad has the grandchildren all together about 3 times a week now. He still has to see my sister's kid separately since she refused to let him take the kid unless she knew where he lived, which to be fair is a normal thing, but considering she is crazy we don't want her close. My mom complained to the lawyers about how unfair it is. My dad still gets to see all grandchildren, but there is nothing she can do about it. About a month ago my dad told me he had a confession and my stomach started hurting. Dear reader, he pays for my nephew's, sister's kids' schooling and babysitting, which is why she still allows him to see him. He felt so guilty for hiding it and didn't want to keep secrets. I assured him it was nothing wrong and to please don't feel bad. On Mother's Day, my dad got an email with a link to an Instagram account in which they made a sad video about my mom and how most of her family has abandoned her and how much of a saint my sister is for being there for her. It was really pathetic and enraged me, but I just sent it to the lawyer. Dad officially filed for divorce in May and the process is still ongoing. My mom insists he is wrong, but my dad said he'd rather drink bleach than go back to her, so I think that is final. My brother and husband took my dad out for Father's Day and had a blast. My sister posted many things that day, but they managed to block my dad from even learning about it because we wanted him to enjoy it. They also did a camping trip with the kids, aka went to a hotel, got a suite and put a tent in the middle area for the kids and a little tippy for the baby. Honestly, having a baby is one of the best things that have happened to me, and seeing my husband being the amazing father I knew he would be makes me so happy. It is tiring, but we have so much support. I feel grateful beyond anything because I have my rocks on my side. My SILs and I now get to have a little calendar on sharing things. All the kids get to do things that are age appropriate and if they want to. We want to let them all know they do not need to hang out with people they dislike and their voices matter. Right now they are all obsessed with baby and say they are her protectors. And we get little get-togethers, brunch, etc. Honestly, having family time is now a pleasure and not a headache without my sister there. I know it is wrong to say, but she just sucks the positivity out of the room. My MIL also loves having time with the baby and stays in the guest room about once a week. She asked politely and said she didn't want to take the baby for sleepovers or anything. I feel respected and heard by her, and yes, have broken down sometimes because I miss my mom a lot. I miss the mom I had or thought I had, not the one that told me I would be a terrible mother or was a hateful woman. My therapist says it's a marathon and to focus on the good. Speaking about good, Bates was terminated. Not only that, but his reputation in his industry was not only damaged but nuclear level damaged. So was his brother's, but because Bill is not in an industry that cares as much about reputation, he still has his job as far as I know. Bates sent me a 12-page, double-sided, seemingly single-space letter about how hurt he is. I am denying him what's his, and my husband is so threatened by him that he had to go and destroy him professionally because he would not be able to destroy anything else. I said it seemed because I didn't read it, my lawyer did and gave me a summary. I also heard from the grapevine. No, I don't ask people, they just tell me since they know he is stalking me, that the mother of his children moved and he didn't even care and said it was for the best. This man doesn't even care about his kids and wants to play with baby and me. Sadly, he won't be homeless or anything because mommy already let him move back in with her, so I doubt he will learn anything from this. Not the flashiest of updates, but just what is. Oh, and my husband burnt or donated every single item given to him by my mom or my parents with my dad's blessing. He says life is too short to give her space in his life even with memories. Relevant comments. Commenter, I am really glad you are coming through all that with the good bits of your family very intact. I don't really get the firing part. I get Bates is a bad dude, but has he ever done anything that has relevance or a connection to his work? OP. Without giving up his industry, it is a very close-knit one, and when you get a bad reputation it sunks you. He was thought of as a nice but distant nice feminist single dad before this. He even told some co-workers I was with him for longer than we were. Commenter. I am reading your full post from the best of Reddit at 1:30 a.m. from my home in India, and I have respect and sorry for what you've faced, and I hope your child grows to be healthy and nice as you both. Also, I hope this whole fiasco is over soon and you can be back with your mother after her ex-fantasy is over. Respect for you. Keep fighting, OP. That is a lovely sentiment, but I will never talk to my mom again. I miss her a lot. I cry a lot. She is not the person I thought she was, and the baby deserves the best family we can get, and my mom is not part of it. It breaks my heart, but I need to protect the baby. OP comments on the second Boru post. I came to check the comments since Tequilitas told me the sub was full of nice people but so many snarky ones. I won't give more identifying info, but Bates is supposed to work with vulnerable people, which is why my husband contacted their employer. As for the money thing, we all come from well-to-do backgrounds for saying something, so I never thought he would suffer for money, but he also will never learn anything. New update. I have some updates for you, but first I want to thank you for all your comments and messages. Every time I log into this account I am bombarded by mostly positive things, and I appreciate it a lot. I am unsure if anybody will read this, but for those who want updates they are mainly good ones. With that out of the way, let's get to it. My parents are divorced now, after many fights and tantrums from my mother. She kept the house and got a bulk payment, but that is it. My dad is like a new man and we are all so happy for him. A little throwback. When all the drama happened we did not fire our cleaning lady. This is a woman that had been helping my husband's family for decades, and I was very stressed out about her being out of work because of what my crazy family did. Also, we are not slobs and she is not polishing floors on her knees or anything like that. In any case, my dad spoke with her and told her she was on paid vacation and until we had a new house to please wait for us if she wanted, but she was absolutely not fired. She was really happy about it and so was her family. My dad started to get food and stuff from them from time to time because they were so thankful about what he was doing for them. Well, she has a sister, who owns her own nail salon, and my dad is dating her now. She is a very lovely woman and has grown children, so she understands the dynamics happening sometimes. He has been very clear he is not moving or marrying, and she is pleased with that because she likes her independence. My mother nearly had a stroke when she heard about his new relationship and kept saying it was a late midlife crisis and he had to resort to being a sugar daddy. This is obviously what I heard because I don't have any contact with her. But last I heard she is having a hard time. She is struggling because she was never good at budgeting and relied on my dad to put a stop on ridiculous purchases. My sister is also struggling because my dad is not helping her with money anymore. You'll see, he was willing to keep helping for the sake of my nephew, but then things got very rough. My nephew started calling my kid an affair baby, how she is not with her real dad, called my other nephews delusional, and during a birthday party he even pushed one of my nephews on my husband's side saying they were not my kid's cousins, only he was. The kids were perplexed and so confused, but immediately told an adult about it. My dad spoke with him, but he kept repeating it. He spoke with my sister and she said she could do nothing to prevent a kid from telling the truth, and didn't all kids always tell the truth? He told her until there is a chance he is cutting them off. She panicked and cried, but she is also super stubborn, so now my nephew goes to public school because my husband made my dad cut them off. Bates, well, he is still unemployed. I know I was cryptic about it, but he was in an industry related to vulnerable women and some of it related to stalking. Irony much. That's why he was fired. The organization he was in didn't want this to splash on them. I have received 2 more very long handwritten rambling letters from him, and since he only has my lawyer's address, guess who has the honor of receiving? reading and file those ramblings. I love my lawyer and he is a champ. Apart from that and the gossip, I have not had bad issues related to him except for one. I was at the grocery store and a random woman came over to ask if my kid was Bates's baby. I was speechless and shocked. I asked her what she was on and she said he has a photo of us on his profile and I should be ashamed of myself for hurting such a good man. Turns out he is still going by the narrative my kid is his and I loved him so much. That is all old news, but at the end what shocked me the most was the pic comment. This is not a photo that has been public or anything like that. It was sent to a family group once and that is it. I told my husband immediately and he was enraged but composed, so we decided to smoke out the rat. Long story short, it was my dad's two sisters feeding info to my mom. My dad was so disappointed but also had no doubts cutting them off. They are still begging him to talk to them again. My brother and his family are doing great. We see them a lot and have been on some family holidays since the last update. They are also in NC with my mom and sister. My SIL is actually super happy about it because it turns out she was not a fan of our mom but kept the peace. My in-laws keep being lovely as well. We allow Mill overnight babysitting now too and she is over the moon with it. Sometimes she has all her grandchildren under the same roof and they are all delighted to be with her. She is a former flight attendant so their favorite game is to pretend to be an airplane. Overall they love her and we know she is good without kids so we do not worry. She had to make her socials private because my mom kept stalking her. I am sure she is extremely jealous but she made her own bed. Lastly, my husband keeps me sane whenever little things come up. We are thinking if we should have another baby or maybe adopt one. We are still undecided. We have a great support system and the privilege to have these conversations. I still miss my mom a lot. I sometimes cry when I realize there are milestones I can no longer share with her, but she is a bad person and the safety of my family matters more. Last fun fact, this Father's Day they actually went camping. It went great apart from the mosquito bites and some ill-placed sunburns. Relevant comments. Could Bates ask for a paternity test? Report the photo. We already did a paternity test, not with Bates but with my husband. We never ever had doubts obviously, but my lawyer suggested having it done in case he claimed it. The photo incident was a while back and we already took it off his Facebook page. I didn't want to go further because I don't want to see him again. Editor's note. Well aware I wrote the wrong years when labeling, was focused more on trying to get the time between posts correct. That's fixed now, thanks to those of you who were polite about it. I fell in love with a married man while engaged to my fiancé of 6 years. Now I regret it and am trying to reconnect with my fiancé. We have been together 6 years now and during the 3rd year of our relationship I cheated on him with a close family friend. I had started taking him for granted and it became easy to cheat because I didn't value the relationship. He broke up with me and we were split for months and the times I was single I realized he is a great BF. I begged for him back and he took me back but I had to promise to never speak to the guy again. I'm happy to say I never cheated since then and haven't been tempted at all. I understand how great of a partner I have. That being said, the guy I cheated on was a close family friend and recently I rekindled our friendship behind his back. Nothing romantic. Have you ever met someone who is a terrible partner but a great friend? That's him. I hated the fact that I let a stupid mishap ruin our friendship. My fiancé found out and was angry. I apologized and we talked and he needed space. He sent me a text of his demands to continue the relationship and I copied and pasted it. His text. After doing some thinking, I can't trust you. Whether it was platonic or not, this is the 2nd time that I know of where I have violated my trust. The hardest part isn't this, but now I have to wonder how many times have you violated my trust or done something behind my back that I just don't know about. You claim this is it, but how can I believe you? I love you and want to work on this relationship, but it's going to require a lot from you. We are postponing our wedding indefinitely. When we first got back together it took 10 months before I felt secure in the relationship again. I have no idea how long it will take to feel secure again. Eli, I changed the name, will be blocked on everything and you're to never speak to him again. This now includes family events. If you know he will be there, do not attend. If you didn't know and he attends, you are to ignore him. I have unrestricted access to phones, social media, emails, etc. Every password I want to know for any device you have. No hanging out with male friends alone. You are to be home by 1 if you do go out with your homegirls. There will be more, but these are my demands and they aren't up for discussion. If you aren't willing to do it, then the relationship is over. Take your time to think about it. End of text. I called him but he said he's not arguing with me about it and won't call him back until I decide what I want to do. I feel that this is extremely harsh considering the fact I didn't cheat this time. Ever since we got back together I never cheated on him. OP believes that the punishment is too far. I think I was wrong. But I feel that the punishment doesn't fit the crime. I made a horrible mistake years ago. Being friends with someone doesn't equal sign cheating. Even though I was wrong for going behind his back. OP is convinced to follow her BF's rules. Okay, I'll do it. I just needed to make sure he wasn't going too far, but if this is what it takes to rebuild his trust. When commenters say that OP is on her way to cheat on her BF again, she claims, "You don't think I'll follow his rules? Good thing I don't let people tell me what I can't do. I'm going to be laughing when we work through this, get married and have kids." Update 1. We had a really great conversation and he was vulnerable and said it made him feel like I didn't value him. He was crying and it really hurt me to see the pain I caused him. He told me that please let's not go forward with this unless I can promise that I won't go behind his back again because he can't go through this pain again. I told him that I promise I will never hurt him again and will always be honest and upfront with him now. We talked about the rules and he said they will be temporary and will be adjusted when we go to couples therapy. Now it's time to put in the work to repair the relationship. I know it will be a lot of work, but I'm prepared. Update 2. So next month I'll get married this fall. I was with an amazing guy and we worked through a lot of issues together. I thought I loved him and I think I still do, but not in love with him. About 3 months ago at my job, we got a new coworker who is very handsome and extremely attractive. I mean, I have never been so physically attracted to someone in my life. We started to deepen our friendship, but romantic feelings came. I repressed mine, but to my surprise he confessed his feelings to me as well. I told him we gotta think about our spouses, but our feelings continue to grow. He told me he stopped being affectionate with his wife because he feels like he is cheating on me when he does that. He only wants to be affectionate with me. I've started doing the same thing and haven't been intimate with my partner. The big thing is a lot of people will be hurt when this comes out. He can't divorce his wife right away because of finances, but he will as soon as possible. I have to call off the wedding, but I really don't want to hurt my current fiancé. When asked about her previous infidelity, OP says, "I have cheated before and I'm starting to realize it's because I didn't understand being in love. With the guy I'm seeing, we both aren't romantic with our current partners. I don't want to be with anyone but him. Also, he's going to divorce his wife. We have a plan for when his finances get straight. How is she justifying this affair? This is completely different. The first time I cheated was because I was selfish. This time it was because I fell in love with someone else. I didn't choose this. No one picks who they love. This whole experience has taught me how complex love is and that I've never been in love before. This is so hard on OP. That's not fair. I didn't want any of this to happen. It breaks my heart that I'm going to have to call off the wedding, but he's a great guy and I'm certain he will find someone else. I wish I loved him or didn't fall in love with someone else. Because life is more complicated than that. I don't want to hurt him and have been thinking, oh, the best way to tell him. You guys act like this doesn't hurt for me too. You guys are not being understanding or empathetic. When commenters tell OP she's gullible about the married guy, she keeps emphasizing, I'm going to tell my fiancé. But we can't tell the other guy's wife yet. He's trying to get his finances in order first. Update 3. I took everyone's advice and decided to end things with my fiancé. This was the hardest thing I had to do in my life. I know you guys think I'm a terrible person, but this is an unimaginable situation to find yourself in. I want everyone to know how much this hurts. I really wish I didn't fall in love with someone else. I wish I could make myself fall in love with my fiancé, but I can't. It took me so long to accept this. I hope you guys can understand that I can't convey this enough, that I care about my ex-fiancé. I know this will be best for both of us, even though it's hard right now. When asked if OOP told her ex-fiancé the truth, she says, I didn't lie. I told him the truth, that I fell in love with someone else. I told him I still care about him. I keep telling you all that I care about him and would never use him as backup. He's a great guy and there's a woman out there who will love him and be lucky to have him. There's no reason we both can't be happy. When commenters tell OOP that there is no way the married man is going to leave his wife for her, she says, he is going to divorce his wife. Unfortunately, divorce is extremely complicated, but he said he will keep me updated. It's not just finances but a lot of other legal stuff. Since I wasn't married yet, it was easy to end things. For him it's a lot more complicated than that. When commenters continue to call OOP gullible, she says, no, I was very clear in our conversation today that I want this figured out by the end of the year. That's plenty of time for him to figure out finances and legal stuff. That way by 2025 we can just focus on each other. Update 4. I realize I treated my fiancé horrible and received my karma. My coworker and his wife are getting a divorce because she found out he was cheating with multiple women. Plural, he's a disgusting animal. He lied to me and others pretending that we were the only ones. I ended things with him. I'm glad he's been exposed. Now, regarding my ex-fiancé, I've taken the time to reflect and realize he's actually my true love. I hate that I hurt him. I reached out again to him but he said he will always love me but he's done with me. That was painful to hear. I just can't get over what my coworker did in destroying multiple relationships including mine. It's painful to see and experience. Edit. I wasn't clear but I take responsibility for my actions. Just because I'm condemning his disgusting and manipulative behavior doesn't mean I'm justifying my actions. My actions were horrible but I've learned from them. My love for my husband has been gradually dying since he forced me to choose between an open marriage and divorce. My husband, Leo, 34, and I, 30, have been together for 7 years, married for 4 of them. We don't have any kids and we don't intend to. 2 years ago, Leo asked me for an open marriage. I was devastated at the time. I couldn't understand why he didn't just want me. I couldn't even comprehend the idea of sharing him either. He gave me the same song and dance a lot of men give their spouses, swore up and down that he loved me. I just wasn't fulfilling his needs. He needed more than what I could give. It was just to spice up our life, it was just sex, etc. I did ask if there was someone else. He said no. To this day, I'm still not sure if I believed him. But at the time, I was angry and hurt and said no. He pestered me to change my mind for a week before giving me an ultimatum. Open marriage or divorce. I chose an open marriage. I just couldn't bear the thought of him leaving me at the time. We have rules. We can't bring any partners home. We have to get tested for STD every 3 months. 1 weekend out of the month must be left free for us time. Any money we spend on with our partners must come from our personal accounts. I didn't partake in the open marriage myself for the first 3 months. Leo obviously did right away. He seemed to be gone or out late almost all the time, but he always acted so happy and loving towards me while I felt like I was dying inside. It killed me to think he was sleeping with other women, and I felt so lonely and unattractive and not good enough. I told my sister, Katie, 26F, and a few close friends everything. Katie told me to just play his game and be part of the open marriage too. If he can sleep around, so could I. I honestly didn't have much confidence in myself at the time. I'm a bit overweight and I've never considered myself conventionally pretty. I was afraid this would just humiliate me further. Katie and my best friend Jessie, 30F, set up my online dating profiles for me. I got so many matches that it was overwhelming. When I told Leo, he was surprised, but told me to do whatever I thought was best. Jessie helped me choose my first date, and I actually had a great time. He didn't pressure me for sex and took me out to drinks and dinner. We did have sex eventually, but it was all just casual and we didn't see each other after a couple months of casual dating. That first guy really made me feel more confident in myself. So I kept going on dates with men. A lot of them wanted to treat me, so I didn't have to spend much of my own money. Not only that, but some of the men have given me the best sex I've ever had in my life. Almost like the kind of sex you read in romance novels. It's been amazing. I am currently seeing 2 different men, alongside Leo. One, Mark, 38M, is more of a steady boyfriend I've been with for about 6 months, and the one, Steven, 25M, is very casual, mostly just hanging out and sex. They know about my open marriage, other relationships, and are fine with it. My husband has not been so lucky. In the beginning, he definitely was. He was always out and about and didn't seem to care even when I started dating too. But now he just complains a lot and hasn't been going out much. He whines about how he's usually the one spending money. A lot of the women he tries to be with want an emotional connection before sex. He often wants to be with younger women, but they want younger men. He's also been upset that I go out with random guys so often while he's at home alone all the time. He hasn't asked to close the marriage yet, but I feel like he will soon. He keeps saying he misses us and wants to spend more time together. He tried to initiate sex a lot more too. He wants to go on dates and go on vacations and all that stuff more and more, and he gets upset when I tell him I can't because I've already scheduled to do stuff with my partners, mostly Mark. Honestly, I don't think I love Leo anymore. I care about him, but I just don't love him. I'm not saying I love Mark or Steven, but I honestly feel closer to Mark nowadays than I do Leo. Mark makes me feel comfortable and safe, and I love spending time with him more than my own husband. Steven is funny and sweet and really good at sex. Katie and Jessie have been wanting me to divorce for a year now, but I was afraid of hurting him and thought I still loved him. But I think my love for him died when he asked for this open marriage in the first place. Seeing him get all pissy about it now just because he's not benefiting from it is also a turnoff for me too. But I don't know if divorce is the best option. I still care about him and I still don't want to hurt him. Maybe if he finally asked to close the marriage, we can talk about it then. Relevant comments. Comment 1, divorce. You're happier without him. He would only want to close the marriage because he can't get laid, not that he only loves you. OP. We've just been together for so long that the idea of him not being there feels weird. Which sounds stupid since I have 2 other partners, so it's not like I'll be lonely. But Leo was a part of my life for so long that for him to not be there just doesn't feel right. But you're probably right. OP on her husband dismissing her feelings regarding the open marriage. OP, I really do think Leo does love me, in his own way. Even when he was more active in the open marriage, he still made time for me and still did a lot with him. For me. But you're probably right on the divorce. Comment 2, part of the issue is the main relationship is supposed to be the important one, so the whole 1 weekend a month for us time wasn't enough. OP, I actually did argue that in the beginning, but he insisted that he needed to keep his weekends free. He did spend a lot of time at home during the weekdays, so in his mind, that made up for it. Comment 3. What if he finds evidence of your open marriage and frames you as a cheater and then brings you to the cleaners? At this point, I wouldn't trust Leo. What you're experiencing is normalcy. You're used to his presence in your life. But how long are you going to live like this? OP. Jesse had the same train of thought of you and actually took screenshots of his dating profiles during the beginning of the open marriage. She also told me to save screenshots of any texts we had about the open marriage. I don't think Leo would do that, but I also didn't think he'd ever ask for an open marriage, so what do I know? Update 1. Hi everyone. I got so many comments and messages on my last post, which got deleted for some reason, that I was a bit overwhelmed. Especially when a lot of you kept saying the same thing, divorce, divorce, divorce. But the thing is, I think a part of me still loves my husband. I know in my last post that I didn't think I loved him anymore, but I can't just forget about the things that I do love. I love when he sings in the shower. I love when he laughs so hard he snorts. I love when he kisses my forehead when I've had a bad day. I love when he holds my hand when he watch TV together. Leo has done a lot of shitty things, but he really isn't the big asshole people think. Maybe that was my fault. But even if I do still love him, I'm not in love with him anymore. I don't think I have been for a while. I care about him, a part of me does still love him, but you all were right. I should have just divorced him when he gave me that ultimatum in the first place. This past Saturday, we had the big talk. I initiated it, but he didn't seem too surprised. I just told him that I noticed he didn't seem to like me going out with Mark or Steven and asked if there was a problem. He said there was. But he didn't ask me to close the marriage. He just asked me if I still loved him. I said something like, not like I used to. He broke down crying, which made me cry. I guess he had known for a while that I wasn't in love anymore, but he had hoped he could win me back if he funneled all of his energy into me. I was honest and told him that during those first 3 months of our open marriage, I think my love for him died and I just couldn't get it back. I did tell him that I still cared about him and that I did love him, but it's not the same as it was. He asked if I loved Mark or Steven, and I said no. I like being with them and I care about them a lot, but I can't say I'm in love with either of them. I also finally asked him why he wanted the open marriage in the first place. A lot of you in the comments said he already had someone lined up and you were right. He had someone at work he was interested in and she wanted him too. The open marriage was just to get permission. He honestly never expected me to also get my own partners because of how unconfident I was, but he didn't want to stop me either because he thought nothing would come of it. He didn't really like me seeing other men, but he knew it wouldn't have been fair to tell me no when I gave him permission first. I guess Mark and Steven made him insecure because I was spending so much time with them on a regular basis. The open marriage was just sex on the side for him. He only did hookups and they never lasted long. He genuinely always just loved me. But he thought I was falling in love with my partners and he was losing me and wanted to win me back. We cried a lot and talked a lot. We've decided to get a divorce. Since the house is in his name, I'm going to move out and live with Katie for a while. He told me I didn't have to and I could stay until the divorce was finalized, but I just can't. It's too hard to even look at him sometimes. I don't know how I feel, to be honest. I thought I would be relieved or sad, but I'm just tired. I wish I could have been like you all wanted me to be, clapping back or being sarcastic and snarky or rubbing it in his face, but I don't feel like I've won anything. I just feel lost. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I'm wondering if maybe the other woman ended it so now he was back to what he was comfortable with, his wife. He went and had his fun and when that died out, He was not left with a wife waiting for him at home. OP, he and his coworker were only sleeping together for maybe a month. She fulfilled his kinks that I never liked indulging in. That's why he was with most of his partners, because I wasn't interested in his kinks. Comment 2. He stepped out of this marriage first and tried to have his cake and eat it too. The thing with open marriages is that you can never count on how emotions will change. Sex is a very intimate action and many people will develop emotional connections. Those connections come at a price. He placed a bet and he lost. At least he's man enough to acknowledge it and own up to it. There is no easy answer. OP, I wish you healing OP. Thank you. Leo just thought the open marriage would be a way for him to get all of his kinks he couldn't do with me, because I wasn't into it. He knew how unconfident I was, which wasn't because of him. A lot of people seem to think that he eroded my self-esteem, but he didn't. We can thank my mother for that, but that's a whole other can of worms. So he never expected me to partake in the open marriage either. Comment 3. So he never expected me to partake in the open marriage either. So basically, while he asked for a mutually open marriage, he expected it to be only his side open and then got hurt that reality didn't meet his expectations. OP, Leo admitted that he did only expect his side to be open. He was never going to stop me from opening my side, but like I said, he didn't think I would. TBH, I don't think I would have either if it wasn't for Jesse and Katie pushing me and making profiles for me. My stepdaughter passed away 4 weeks ago and I caught my husband and his ex-wife together in our bed. My stepdaughter Becca, 14, died 4 weeks ago. I've been in her life since she was 7 years old. We were extremely close. My husband Derek, 40, his ex-wife Sam, 38, and I, 35, get along very well. There has never been an issue in the 7 years that I've been with Derek. Sam has always been kind to me. She didn't even care that Becca called me mom too. Right after Becca's passing, Sam had so much anxiety and depression that she was unable to be by herself. She has no family besides us, so we invited her to stay with us. Sam hardly leaves the house. She mostly just sleeps in Becca's room, which is completely understandable. I always tell her that I'm here if she needs me and that I want her to take her time grieving and that there is no pressure to go back to her home. Today I needed to run some errands, so I asked Sam if she'd like to join me to get out of the house a little bit, but she declined and said she'd rather just stay at the house and sleep. I told Derek that I was leaving and that I would be back in 2-ish hours. He works from home. I also told him to check on Sam every once in a while, and maybe try getting her to eat something. After stopping at the post office, I realized I forgot my library book that I needed to return, so I went back home to get it. As soon as I walked in the door, I heard moaning coming from mine and Derek's bedroom. I immediately knew what was happening. And my heart completely broke at that moment. I wasn't completely sure what to do, but I ended up deciding to confront them, so I walked to the bedroom and opened the door and began yelling at them both. Sam started having an anxiety attack and ran to the bathroom while Derek kept apologizing profusely. I asked him what the hell was happening. He told me that he made himself and Sam some lunch and they began talking about Becca, and shared some memories. And then Sam ended up kissing him and he didn't pull back, and then it ended with them in our bed. They're begging me to understand that it was just grief that caused them to become intimate and that they both made a mistake. I don't know what to do. I love this man. And I love Sam. I'm heartbroken that they did this to me and put me in this position. I feel so stuck. Relevant comments. Comment 1, that would be hard for me. I understand grieving, but how is this excusing cheating? What happens next time he is sad? Edit. I misspoke when I said sad. Obviously this is something beyond devastating. I still don't think it can be used as an excuse. OP, I don't want to excuse his cheating. I think I want to divorce him, but I'm anxious about doing it right after we lost Becca. Comment 2, probably together. Do you both own the home? If it's in your name, change the locks. Stay strong and don't listen to his excuses. I am so sorry this happened to you during such a difficult time. OP, exactly what I was thinking if I'm being honest. And yes, we both own it. When I told him to leave, he kept saying sorry and then said that he would leave and respect me wanting him gone for a while. Comment 3, are you seeing a therapist perhaps? You're dealing with a lot right now, it might be useful. OP, yes, I am in therapy. I've been with my therapist for other things for the last 3 years. She's been very helpful. I saw her yesterday and was able to figure some things out. Update 1, I decided that I'm filing for a divorce. I can't ever trust Derek again. It sucks because we had an amazing relationship, I thought. He's always been great, so this was a complete shock to me. Last night, Derek came over to talk. He confessed a lot. Turns out it wasn't their first time having sex like most people thought. They've been having sex since 3 months before Becca died. I am completely shocked and heartbroken. Sam also reached out last night and thanked me for everything I've done for her, and told me she was sorry. I didn't respond, I blocked her. I did so much for Sam and considered her a friend, so this hurts a lot, more than I can handle. This is all too much. As hard as this is gonna be, I need to leave Derek and cut them both out of my life. I am ready to do so. I am done. Also, some people are saying I deserve this because I should have known better than to let Sam into our home, around Derek. But, you need to understand that I'm a giving person. I trust people more than I should. I truly thought Sam was an amazing person. I know it's unusual to become friends with your husband's ex-wife, but it's just how it went for us and I shouldn't be blamed for what happened. Thank you to everyone who commented nice things and for the kind messages. You've all been helpful during this insanely difficult time. I appreciate it. Relevant comments. Comment, out of curiosity, what are his excuses for cheating? Those two are going to be in a world of hurt once the guilt settles in. They're going to be asking themselves why it had to be Becca and will eventually come to the conclusion that it's their punishment for what they've done to you. I can pretty much guarantee you that. OP, he told me that they just accidentally reconnected one night when I was away at my mom's. He was stressed we weren't conceiving and were having miscarriages, so he vented to Sam, and then somehow that led to sex. It seems so icky to me. How can he vent about our struggles like that and then go and have sex with Sam? It's just awful of him. I don't understand it. Editor's note, remove the first half of the updates as it was a rehash of update #1, updates 2. I'm getting lots of questions about some things, so I figured I'd answer a few of them. Have I told anyone about what happened besides my mom? Yes, I told a few friends and some family members. Most of them are supportive of my decision and aren't speaking to Derek. Where is Derek staying? Currently, he's staying at a hotel. Our friends refuse to let him stay with them. He's lost a lot of people due to his awful decisions. Has he tried fighting me on getting a divorce? Yes, he begged me not to file for divorce, but when I told him I needed him to just let me go and that I was too exhausted to fight him on this, he let it be and agreed to getting a divorce. Why isn't Derek staying with Sam? He told me he didn't want to continue to hurt me, so he told Sam he was done with her for good. And that they have no reason to speak to each other anymore. I have no idea if that'll last and if they'll just end up together, but I truly don't care what they do anymore. I just want peace. What was Derek's excuse for cheating? He told me that they just accidentally reconnected one night when I was away at my mom's. He was stressed we weren't conceiving and were having miscarriages, so he vented to Sam, and then somehow that led to sex. Disgusting of them both, I know. Feel free to ask anything else, and I'll try to answer. Thank you everyone for your support and advice. Relevant comments. OP on what happened to Becca. OP, it was very sudden. She died in a car accident when she was with one of her friends and her friend's parents. OP on her husband's parents being supportive or not, and if they know about his cheating. OP, I get along with Derek's mom very well, but he's also a mama's boy, so it's kinda complicated. She will always be there for him. He'd stay with her if she didn't live across the country. She knows what he did and told me she had a talk with him, but said that he's still her son and she'd help him with anything if he needed it. I'm thinking I need to cut her out of my life too, which makes me really sad because we were close and talked on the phone almost daily. OP on if she has children with her husband. OP, we've had 6 miscarriages total. All of them were in the first trimester. More updates. I just found out that he is staying with Sam and not at the hotel. He told me it's too expensive to stay at a hotel and Sam is the only one that'll help him right now. I had a feeling this would happen. Just knowing that they are still probably sleeping together hurts my heart. I talked to a lawyer this morning and we are proceeding with the divorce and Derek agreed to it. It's actually happening. And I feel some relief that he's not fighting me on this. My mom leaves on Sunday. I'm scared to be alone. But I go back to work on Monday, so I'm hoping it'll be a good distraction. I'll keep updating if anything else happens. Thank you everyone, I am so grateful for you all. Relevant comments. Comment 1. OP, how did you find out he was staying at his ex-wife's place? Anything he says should be taken with a grain of salt. He's not true to his words in going on contact with Sam. OP, he texted me this morning after we talked to lawyers, and said he just wants to be honest with me. I told him to stop giving me updates on what he's doing in his life and that it's not something I need to know. It seems like he wanted to tell me to hurt me. OP on how she is doing. OP, thank you, I'm doing a little better today. My mom and I went on some nature walks and went out into the garden this afternoon, that helped. Becca loved gardening with me, so it made me feel closer to her. I decided to go through some of Becca's stuff today. I just found her diary in a box in the back of her closet. Would it be wrong to read some of it? I feel like it would help me feel closer to her, but part of me feels like it's wrong too. I haven't told Derek that I found it either, and I'm unsure if I should tell him. What would you do? Relevant comments. OP on if she was closer with Becca prior to her sudden passing. OP, Becca and I were very close. It felt like she told me anything and everything, but I honestly think all parents feel that way about their kids, so I'm kinda nervous to read it. Just a little update. I figured it's been a few days, so I should give a little update. My mom is leaving in a couple hours, so I'll be alone. I'm kinda nervous about it. She helped me stay distracted and kept me going. IDK how I'm gonna handle her being gone. I go back to work tomorrow, the first day back since Becca passed away. I'm looking forward to it though because it'll keep me distracted. Also, I did read some of Becca's diary. It made me love her even more. She was such a sweetheart. I went back a few months and saw that she noticed some weird behavior between Derek and Sam. Didn't mention that she knew of the affair, but she just wrote that she thought it was kinda strange that they all three would hang out more than usual, without me. I might read more, but so far I haven't found anything that's disturbing. Just her being a teenager and talking about crushes, fights with friends, happy family memories, etc. Tomorrow I'm also talking to my lawyer, so I might have more updates on that. Thanks for the continuous love and support, everyone. Last update for a while. Started randomly getting a lot more messages, comments, so I figured I'd do another little last update. My first week back at work went great. I wasn't expecting it to go so well, but thankfully it did. My coworkers were so helpful and patient with me. On Friday night I decided I didn't want to stay home all weekend alone, so I decided to drive up to my mom's. It helps that I have a 3-day weekend so I can spend more time with her. I'm heading back home tomorrow. Also, for those of you that have messaged me hateful things for reading Becca's diary, I just have to say, you aren't in my shoes right now. Telling me I'm a bad mom because I'm reading her diary is just ridiculous. I learned so much more about her, about how caring and sweet she is, and it made me love her even more. It's how I'm able to feel so close to her right now, so please don't tell me I'm a bad parent for just trying to get by one of the hardest times of my life. You have no idea what it's like. I don't have much of an update, so this will be it. I'll come back and update once the divorce happens though. Thank you to those of you that have been nothing but kind and helpful. You help me feel less alone. I'll forever be grateful. Sam saw my Reddit post and is threatening to sue me. Sam made a fake FB profile to message me and tell me she wants to sue me for telling strangers about what happened. Derek supports her apparently. I don't need this. Am I not allowed to vent about my life to people online? I just want life to get better. I'm so tired. Fuck you, Sam. Fuck you, Derek. Edit. Sam is in the comments and messaged me on here too. Blocked her. Additional information from OP on the message from Sam. OP, no, I just ignored her. It might be an empty threat just to make my life harder, but I'm unsure. Her message said, so I was scrolling through TikTok and ended up on an account where they read Reddit posts, and guess whose post they read? Yours. First you tell friends and family and then you go to a bunch of strangers and tell them our life story. I can't believe you. It isn't just your business to tell. Becca would be so disappointed in you. Be prepared cause I think I'm gonna be suing you for this. This was no one else's business. You did this to yourself, remember that. I'm actually baffled. She thinks Becca would be disappointed in me. Am I the A for leaving my boyfriend after nearly 2 years of dating because he bought lingerie for his best friend as a joke? My boyfriend, 28, and I, 24, have been together for a year and a half. I love him a lot, and he has been pretty amazing to me. He is also the sort of person who has lots of friends and his close friends are pretty much family. He also loves to joke and play these harmless pranks on his friends, which sometimes makes me feel weird. Just for context, he has 2 female friends and 3 male friends. This is about my BF and one of his friends, Claire, 28. Claire is a nice woman and we are friendly. My boyfriend also has never ignored me in favor of his friends or talked over me in front of them. Which is why I don't understand if I'm in the right. They, my boyfriend's friends, had a recently escalated prank fight. I had made it clear to my BF that I am not good at jokes and am rather stiff, and he said he would keep me out of it. Claire, my boyfriend, and another friend, Kyle, 27, even had a huge throwing water balloons fight in Kyle's backyard. Then my boyfriend got pranked with dye in his body wash. Then Kyle got pranked by Claire, something about whipping cream and oven mitts. But the issue was when my boyfriend brought a red, lacy, lingerie set and he planned to put it in Claire's room the next time he went over. I said it was a tacky prank, and why would he buy lingerie? None of the previous pranks have been of this kind, and it makes me really uncomfortable. I also felt like if I was Claire, I would feel gross about it. But my boyfriend got mad and defensive and told me Claire is cool like that, and she would think it's funny. I admit, I get a bit weirded out when he calls Claire extremely beautiful and jokes about how she has always been way out of his league. But I thought it was nothing and they were like family, so I guess it was their thing. However, the lingerie prank had me put my foot down and I said that he was wrong to give another woman lingerie, no matter who, when he had a girlfriend. We fought, and I said I wanted to break up, which he didn't want to, and I said that I was just overreacting. He said that I was too conservative and needed to open my mind when he had never given me a reason to be insecure. Claire called me and said that she and my BF have been friends for a long time, and inside jokes are just that, and I'll learn with more age. I still feel weird about this. My best friend is supportive of me no matter what I do, but I have started to feel like I'm blowing this out of proportion. My boyfriend says that the fact that he told me and didn't hide it from me shows that I'm the problem. I have started to feel like I've blown this out of proportion and maybe it's my fault I can't take a joke. I really feel awful about this whole thing. AITA. Edit. The people asking what the prank is with the lingerie. Apparently, it's an inside joke about how during their college days she had some problems with the color red, and the lingerie would have just given her a shock of some kind, I guess. I told my boyfriend it was cruel, but he said it wasn't a trauma thing, just an inside joke. Claire also said over the phone that the lingerie thing was just an inside joke of their college days. Update. My inbox got flooded with DMs and had to turn off Reddit notifications. When I posted this, I was ready to be called immature and ridiculous and get a couple of comments, but it seemed like the post blew up, and the comments were kind of eye-opening. TBH, before all this fiasco, my BF has always been nice to me. Came with me to my grad school functions even though he found them very boring, but would do it so that I could network. He builds stuff like furniture and helps out with handiwork all the time. He is also very funny, and at the very beginning, I thought all his jokes were funny. And I sometimes wondered why he wanted to be with me, plus, I was always busy with school and job interviews. His mom and I had even gotten close and she has been saying how happy she was that we were together. I had always ignored his and Claire's weird dynamic because I told myself I was being insecure. I have male friends too, and I thought that just because we aren't like that, doesn't mean my BF and Claire can't be close. Claire has also never been outright mean to me. She was just aloof and I thought it was because I was new to the group. To the actual update, my BF and I broke up. I'm sorry guys, but even after seeing so many replies on how he was cheating, I refuse to believe it. I'm still in love with this guy. And he called me, like half a day after I wrote this post, and asked to meet. I met him. And he said that he understood where I was coming from. But I was always too uptight to understand that friendship is friendship. He and Claire had known each other for years before I came into the picture, and I cannot expect him to just ruin their dynamic. I asked him what sort of dynamic was red lingerie. Why couldn't it be literally any other type of clothing? He told me he had it with my insecurities. And that he and Claire talked and apparently I was making them sound like cheaters and homewreckers. And that he thought it was better I found someone like me, who thought the idea of a fun night was junk food and a movie indoors. That hurt a lot. He had always known I had insecurities about being called boring. He always complimented me on how his weaknesses were my strengths. Now he says things like this to me? Also, before this lingerie fiasco, I had never said a word about his and Claire's friendship. I always supported his pranks and practical jokes no matter my opinions on them because I thought it was his business what he did with his hobbies. And he leaves without even putting up a fight because his girlfriend didn't want him giving lingerie to the woman he constantly refers to as his sexy bestie. Claire didn't call or text after the breakup either. But Kyle did and said that he was sad that we broke up and he hoped I would be okay in the future. I asked him if my BF ever cheated on me. He said that my BF had only been a one-woman man when he was dating me, but he could understand that some women can't handle female best friends, especially if they look like Claire. I told him to fuck off and blocked him. It felt like he only wanted to gloat and hurt me because my BF left. I feel like I never knew these people. Claire and Kyle were always at least decent to me if not nice. Did it make me a free target now that my BF has been telling his friends I'm an insecure child? I don't know what to do now. I have been told repeatedly by both my friends and sister that I dodged a bullet. But I have been breaking down like a kid again and again. I'm even thinking of going to therapy, after feeling the most insecure I've felt my whole life. Thank you to all who were supportive. It seems like my now ex-BF just did the work for me. My girlfriend asked for an open, poly relationship. I said no, and now she's acting strange. What should I do? My girlfriend, 28, and I, 26, Have been in a relationship for 3 years and a few months now, but not long ago she started sliding in hints before telling me that she wants to try an open or poly relationship. She asked about this before at the start of our relationship, and I thought that I made it clear that I was monogamous and not interested in that. Now she's asking again and saying how we could both even share a girlfriend, or we could be open and hook up with whomever. I told her no and asked her why she was pushing this again. She said that it could be a way to spice up our sex life, and I said something like, okay, well, I'm not into that, you know that. So no go. She got agitated and said to just try it, which pissed me off, and again said no. This conversation happened a little over 2 weeks ago and she still seems to be pissed off about it, not really talking to me and sleeping in the guest room. I've tried to get her to talk to me about it, but she just brushes me off and says that it's not important anymore. I've been venting to friends about it, and a few of my friends brought up that maybe she's already cheated or is cheating and is trying to cover it up, or maybe she has someone in mind that she wants to bang. I doubted it at first, but now I wonder because she has been a little more distant and just overall off, even before the whole open relationship talk. We haven't been having sex as often as we used to, but I chalked that up to it being because of my hectic work schedule. I'm not sure what to do. I'm afraid that if I start digging that I won't like what I find. Edit. I'm going to either snoop on her phone or confront her about it. I love her, but I also don't want to be played with. If she's hiding something, I will find out. From the comments. Comment 1. If you're afraid to dig because you don't like what you'll find, well, that's understandable. I would be too, but it's no good way to live. OP replies, true. I've been debating if I could sneak her phone really quick. Comment 2. She's either already having sex with someone else or has someone she wants to. Did you know she was bi before you started dating? OP replies, I'm bi and she's lesbian, or as much as I know. She said that she dated a boy in middle and high school but started dating girls in late high school, if my memory serves me right. Update, it's super late but I'm numb, sobering up and just can't fucking sleep. This fucking sucks, but I need to get this off my chest and out my head. So a few days ago I posted about how my GF of 3 years asked me for an open relationship or to try a poly relationship. I actually got to sit her down to talk the next day after posting about it and asked her why she brought it up again. She asked in the past, in the beginning of our relationship, after dating for so long. She repeated that she just wanted to spice up our love life, and I asked her, how would that spice things up though? The only one who's gonna find it sexy is you because you know that I'm not into that. She said something about how I should be open-minded about it because so many people wish they had a partner like her that would be okay with them screwing other people. I said yeah, if they were into that then I'd get that. After a little more back and forth and talking in circles I just said, listen, if you want to screw someone else then just say that. However, we'll be over. I love you, but if you want this then you should go be with someone that would give you what you want, cause I can't. I thought that she'd be a little remorseful or apologize or anything but what she told me. I assume she thought that I just broke up with her because she just got pissed and screamed out, oh so we're over? Fine. I've been screwing her guy friend. Anyways, and I'm pregnant. Yeah, my lesbian GF is fucking pregnant by a fucking friend of ours. My hands are shaking just thinking about this again. I tried to hold it together but I just couldn't, and I tried to kick her out but she wouldn't leave, so I left for a friend's place and have been here over the weekend. My now ex kept calling me but I only answered and told her to get her shit together and move out and go live with the douchebag, who I deleted and blocked because I would lose my shit on him at that time, then turned off my phone. I turned my phone back on this morning and my ex left messages. I called her, to get closure if anything, and asked her how long. She said since December when I went out of town. I asked if they fucked in my bed and she said yes. I asked if this was the reason for the open relationship BS and she again said yes. Lastly, I asked if she was planning to keep the baby and still stay with me, and she said yes. I just hung up. I've deleted and blocked her on everything for now because I just need to distance myself right now. I'm gonna see if I can break my lease on the APT we shared because now that I know that they've been fooling around in there, I don't want it anymore. For now though, I'm just chilling at my friend's and will probably be here until I can get out of my lease. I have no more tears left. I can't tell if I'm in shock or emotionally broken. I took some time off work but I don't know how I'll ever get back to normal after this. Thanks for the advice from my previous post. I'ma try to get some sleep now. From the comments, OOP is advised to get tested and change her passwords etc. In addition, the question of how the baby was supposed to fit into a lesbian relationship is brought up several times. Comment 1, geez. She's a terrible person and you did the right thing pushing the issue. And I'm amazed and shocked that she thought you were going to be okay raising someone's baby. I'm so sorry you're going through this. OOP replies, Thing is that I love kids and she knows that. If, and a huge if, this was an accidental pregnancy due to us being open, I probably would have stayed. It's definitely different in this case, obviously. I still can't get over how freaking ridiculous this is. I honestly wish it was a joke. Comment 2a. I mean, what was the plan here? Surprise! I'm pregnant. Like, how did she think she was going to explain that one without outing herself as a cheater? Comment 2b. I guess the plan was let's be poly. Whoops, got pregnant but you agreed to being poly so you cannot be mad at me. OOP replies, honestly that's the only thing that makes sense to me. It was a dumb idea but I guess it would have worked in her head. Comment 3. You might want to get a lawyer and research how child support works in your circumstance. The last thing you want to do is pay for this child. OOP replies, yeah, I'm safe unless I magically started making sperm and grew a member. This actually made me laugh a little because she kinda tried to make me a baby daddy. Laugh to keep from crying as they say. New update. OP updates on her profile the 16th of August 2022, 1 month later. So first things first, thank you all for your support and advice. I really appreciate it. The good news that night I posted my last update, I definitely wasn't in a good headspace, but I allowed myself to grieve for a few days then got right to work. I went and got tested and I'm clean, no HIV or STDs, thank God. I went to my landlord and I told her the situation as well as had a formal letter typed up just in case. She's always been a nice lady and was kind enough to offer me a cheaper apartment that I could move into easily if I wanted to, but I decided to just move out of this complex. So I'll need to pay this month's rent, my ex won't pay her half so. Then my part of the lease will be officially broken. I don't know, or care to know, if my ex will break or take over the lease but that's on her. I've already got a place lined up and will be rooming with another close friend of mine. Bad news, it was about a day after I posted my last update that my ex just showed up to the friend's house that I was staying at. I don't know how she found out but we do have a pocket full of friends so it's not that hard. I was under the influence and numb and didn't want to see her but she kept pushing it and refused to leave. At first I came out and told her that we should talk outside, then I closed the door behind her. She still refused to leave so I stepped outside to talk to her, or she talked and I just stared at her. She started with apologizing and trying to put the blame on me being busy all the time, which, yeah, I was working a lot but every free time I had was spent with her. Then she said we weren't having enough sex, then saying that the sex meant nothing with the guy, and then somehow it took a turn to her saying that now we could start a family without a paid donor. I just remember going off on her and calling her out for screwing the guy repeatedly and then trying to cover it up with some bullshit. She started crying and yelling back but I told her to just go back to a baby daddy and tried to go back inside but she pulled on my shirt trying to stop me and I sorta pulled away hard to get away. About a day after that, my friend told me that she posted about how she left me for being abusive and that it drove her into the arms of the father of her baby, along with pics of them together apparently. The douchebag even tried to back her up on that bullshit but almost every mutual friend of ours knew what really happened by then and they absolutely blasted her until she took the post down. Goodbye and good fucking riddance to both of them. I only feel bad that the baby will have such immature parents. Other than that, I'll probably take some time to get away after settling down in my new place. I'm not gonna hold on to that pain anymore. I did love her with all my heart and thought she was my forever, but she betrayed me in a way that I could never imagine. She knew about my past relationship and promised to never hurt me the way my ex did. I guess she didn't lie about that since that ex never cheated on me, lied and manipulated, sure. I'm taking a break from love right now. Maybe I'll get a pet to start my healing journey from here. Am I the A for ruining my best friend's wedding and losing our friendship because I wore a gold dress to the ceremony? I will link the dress. I put gold in quotation marks because I think it's more bronze orange but maybe I'm splitting hairs and AMTA. Some context. My 30F best friend Dan, 30M, got married to Lauren, 27F, yesterday. Dan and I have been best friends since high school and despite always being platonic with no romantic interests on either side, his now wife Lauren has always disliked me. In their 3 years of dating I have not been allowed to see Dan alone because she feels that it's suspicious that I want to hang out with him. Honestly, I just missed my friend. Despite me being happily married, she's always kept me at arm's length. I always figured this was because she's from a very conservative family. Dan has spoken to her multiple times and after she'll back off for a bit before reverting to complaining about him being friends with a girl again. It's not ideal but she makes Dan happy so I made my peace with it. That brings us to the wedding. Originally I was going to be in the groom's party but Lauren ended up crying saying a wedding is not a place to swap gender roles. Dan was fighting her on this but I told him I'll just attend as a guest, and not to choose this hill to die on. The dress code was warm tone garden party, and we were encouraged to wear earthy warm colors. I picked out a bronze/orange dress that I thought fit this perfectly, and the style even matched some examples they gave. In short, I thought I had nailed it. The wedding went great. However, at the reception, Lauren dragged me aside and said, "I cannot believe you would wear gold to my wedding. You're not the first prize, you're just *** king trashy." I was so shocked the moment I just stared at her. She practically screamed at me to leave, and she was drawing attention, so I grabbed my husband, said goodbye to Dan and left. Dan reached out after and told me he was upset I left his wedding so soon. Lauren's mom has texted me saying I ruined the wedding for her daughter and I'm stupid for wearing a gold dress. She's saying it's as bad as wearing white. I was genuinely not aware this was a thing. I want to reach out to Dan to explain, but I don't know if I'm in the wrong here. AITA, relevant comments. Any chance you or Dan have a crush on each other? I am happily married, and Dan and I would rather eat glass than have anything romantic happen between us. We are just not each other's type and see each other as siblings. I genuinely don't think Dan has ever secretly liked me either. Commenter, downvoted. While I believe you, I have to think Dan has made comments about you around his wife for her to go so nuclear on you. Not to be weird, but how would you rate your attractiveness compared with hers? Are you similar, or is there a big gap in your attractiveness? OP, that's hard to answer. We are two totally different people. I think we are both attractive in our own way. I am your Barbie stereotype, 5'11", blonde hair with a six-pack. She's a petite brunette bombshell with a beautiful tan and a full figure. I'm also a good 2 inches taller than Dan, hence he's not my type, I'm not his. So it's comparing apples and oranges. But I do get your point. Commenter, have you and Dan ever had a convo about why you aren't allowed to be alone with him? OP, not just me but any woman. She doesn't believe in platonic friendships with the opposite sex. Why does Lauren's mom have your number? Can't you just forward that message to Dan? My guess is the group chat from the hens party. Lauren didn't have bridesmaids and her mom organized the hens night with a group text chat. Honestly, my husband told me they were acting crazy. I just needed an outside opinion before I called Dan, so hubby said I should post here. How were you going to be a part of the groom's party if she didn't have any bridesmaids? She technically had her mom as a MOH figure, I guess. She stood up there with her and organized the hens party. But they were just going to go with unequal numbers, and in the end, he just had his brother there with him. Update. Wow guys, I genuinely didn't know what to expect posting to strangers on this, but I am so thankful to my husband for suggesting this. I needed a non-biased view on this wearing gold to a wedding issue, and now it's clear that that was never the issue. Many of you asked if the dress I wore stood out, and honestly I know I'm biased saying this, but I genuinely don't think so. Another girl was wearing the exact same dress but in a dark red, which we had a laugh about. Slip dresses are a pretty common wedding guest dress where I am, and it was the type of dress that was recommended by the bride. I think many of you were right in saying that it was never about the dress, but how I looked wearing it. I do want to start this update by thanking my husband who suggested I post here and having a ball reading your comments since posting, and even posting a photo of us this morning with a caption along the lines of "my gold prize of a wife, I am winning in life thanks to you." Turns out Dan found out pretty quickly what actually happened and called me last night. Apparently Lauren's mom had told him I was really drunk and told Lauren her dress wasn't it, so I was requested to leave. Dan had his suspicions that it was bullsh*t, but it wasn't until his mom called him that confirmed it. Turns out she was nearby when Lauren pulled me aside and ironically was actually wearing a yellow gold dress and tore him a new one about letting Lauren treat me like that. Dan didn't have a solution when he called. I could tell he was emotionally exhausted and pretty defeated. He said he wished I had taken it out on the open bar rather than leaving, but he understood why I left. He thanked me for taking the high road and that it hasn't gone unnoticed. He apologized for what happened. Apparently this is an ongoing fight between him and Lauren. For all of those who said Lauren just hates me, it turns out it's 100% true. Apparently, she has been trying to convince Dan to cut me off because that's what a good husband does. He said he thought she had gotten over it now that they were married. I told him that he needs to focus on his happiness and that I will always be here to support him and that I will take a step back if that's what he needs. They were supposed to leave for their honeymoon yesterday. But when Dan called they were still at home, so who knows? I've blocked Lauren and her mom and forwarded the messages to Dan as recommended. Thanks again everyone for your comments and judgment. New update. So, it's been a couple of months and a bit has happened. The situation seemed to resonate with quite a few people, so I thought I would provide a final update. Thank you to everyone who has messaged. It did help me feel a little less crazy during this time. And to the person who let me know I can simply post an update here, thank you. I had no idea how this all worked. So, Lauren ended up finding the post on TikTok and was understandably pissed. She called me from Dan's phone and started screaming at me. saying I had ruined her wedding and that I knew what I was doing wearing a dress like that to the wedding. After the initial shock of expecting Dan and getting Lauren screaming, I yelled, "What kind of dress? The same cut that Amy wore? Someone else has worn the same dress but in a different color. F***ck I just can't win with you? Dress nicely and I'm out to get you. Dress casually and I'm taking the P***ss. I've tried so hard with you but I'm done." And hung up. I messaged Dan, "I clearly can't be in your life with everything the way it is right now. Good luck, I'll always be a call away." Before blocking the number, which broke my heart. That was 3 months ago and I didn't hear anything except from Dan's mother saying Lauren wouldn't stop complaining about me, and life continued. In this time I also discovered I'm pregnant. Me and hubby made a post a couple of weeks ago announcing this, which is on its way to Dan, turned up at my front door a few days after. We talked over many drinks on his end and mocktails on mine. He told me that he always thought it was the right thing to do to listen to your partner's boundaries and insecurities, and that Lauren has a lot of body image issues which resulted in her being suspicious of other women, so he thought the right thing was to support her, but he got lost in setting his own boundaries when it came to how she controlled his interactions with his friends. He said the whole situation forced him to think about her boundaries and her own personal standards, and saw that they consistently contradict each other. Like, she believes, rightly so, that women are allowed to wear whatever they feel comfortable in, but she would complain that I was unreasonable for wearing bikinis to family beach days because it was inappropriate. Dan also realized she was trying to cut out his sister, and literally every woman in his life, including his boss, insisting he get another job. By the time he had heard about my pregnancy, he told me he didn't want to be an absent friend through this and so had a serious conversation with Lauren. I won't go into details, but the result was that they are currently separated and both in therapy. Dan asked Lauren to move out and she is currently staying with her mom, who is apparently convinced I'm the devil. Whilst I am sad for Dan's relationship having to end like this, I am happy to see that he is starting to learn what a healthy relationship is and that he will be able to be my friend through my pregnancy. My husband is excited to have his gaming buddy back. I reached out to Lauren with Dan's permission, letting her know I'm here to talk in a therapy session if she felt like it would help, but I haven't received a response yet, and maybe that's for the best. I can't help but feel bad on some days, because I know that a lot of this is born from insecurity. But I'm trying to focus on the positives that both of them are in therapy, and hopefully we'll move on to bigger and better things. I'm sorry if this update is a bit scattered as well. Pregnancy brain has been hitting me hard. This update has been read and approved by Dan. OP's comment, "Thank you, we are very excited." And while I can't talk to Lauren's motivations, I do agree that whatever issues you are going through are not an excuse to push unfair boundaries. I am in awe of Dan's strength that he has shown in the last couple of weeks. If they continue their relationship, I know it will be on better terms for both of them. I had to protect my husband's niece from a pit bull attack while he ran off. I've been ignoring him since then. Should I forgive him for this? I'm going to start with this. I'm still a bit traumatized. I will be finding someone to talk to, and a friend made this account for me because I am not a frequent user. I don't know if the pit bull made it. I haven't asked. My husband, his niece, nephew, and I were in our backyard. I assume our gate was open. I can't remember. The pit bull came out of nowhere and latched onto his niece, 5F. My niece screamed. I turned and kicked it with all the force I could manage. I was lucky enough to hit it in the jaw somewhere that made its jaw dislodge. My husband, who had been a few feet away, shouted something like, "Whose dog is this?" I told him to get our bear spray from the house. I was in a panic. I am an animal lover, but it was so insane. The pit bull seemed almost rabid. In hindsight, I don't think it was. It wasn't foaming at the mouth, it was just crazed. My husband ran, but not towards the house. He literally ran out the fence gate and shut it behind him, not towards his niece or nephew, who was also present in an outdoor bassinet that I managed to toss onto the picnic table to make sure it was out of the dog's reach. While holding his niece over my shoulder, I put her on the BBQ to keep her out of reach. The dog was literally jumping and snapping, and I was worried that if I tried to carry her, I'm short, it would manage to grab her out of my hands. It chased me when I ran for the shovel, but then I swung at it. And I swung until it stopped. I don't think I will ever forget the sound or feeling. It was so high stress I didn't even realize that it had bitten me twice. I haven't spoken to him for a full week, even though we live in the same house. I didn't ask where he went. He only came back a few minutes later to pack us into the car and drive us to the hospital. He's getting angry that I'm giving him the silent treatment, but I feel like it's his fault that I had to possibly end that animal. If he had gotten the bear spray, I literally keep it in my purse in case I'm ever attacked by an animal or otherwise, then I don't think I would have needed to do what I did. It was literally just inside the door. He knows where I keep it. Instead, he took off to God knows where. Me and 2 children, that I'm not even related to, could have died. It might not even be relevant, but I don't even like kids. I am staunchly child-free, and he is the one who offered us up to babysit for the weekend. I don't know, is this grounds for divorce? I'm not sure I can even look at him. Any attraction I had to him is pretty much gone. He tried to touch me yesterday. Just to move me so he could pass, and I smacked his hand away without even thinking about it, like he was some stranger at a bar, because it was literally jarring. He's just been skulking around, trying to talk to me, then getting frustrated, then skulking more. I wasn't expecting him to be macho and fistfight the freaking dog, but at least follow instructions. At least not leave me in a life and death situation with a toddler and an infant. Should I be able to chalk this up to in the moment panic? I don't even know if I want to hear him out. Relevant comments. Commenter. If it makes you feel better, that dog would have been considered dangerous and put down either way. You defended yourself and the children from an unprovoked attack. You were so courageous and saved the kids' lives. Be proud of yourself. OP, I know that consciously, I think, but thank you for saying that because I just feel so terrible. Commenter, downvoted. He absolutely might. Do it again. Would you feel differently if he told you that he was bitten by a dog when he was small? And he just couldn't stop himself from running away? I'm not trying to excuse him. People have flaws, and you have to decide if you can tolerate them or not. OP. No, I wouldn't really. Seeing as I was attacked pretty badly by a dog when I was young, around 10, 11, I still have scars on my thigh. I still like dogs, and I would like to think I reacted appropriately in the situation. Those kids could have died. I could barely stomach explaining his niece's injuries to his sister. I was bawling, apologizing that I didn't do more. I can't imagine if something worse had happened. To a longer comment, we used to camp. I had trusted that he would be able to react appropriately. Also, he doesn't have any childhood incidents regarding animals that I know of. I actually do. I was attacked by a German Shepherd pretty badly, but I still like dogs. Commenter, downvoted. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Everyone reacts differently to treat stress. In the middle of a crisis, some people panic and cannot follow instructions or even hear instructions. They're just in flight or freezing. These reactions aren't really something we can control. I mean, you don't even like kids, and your instinct was to protect and fight. I'd talk to him about it. OP. I'm trying to. I keep telling myself to try, and then I see him and I remember him freaking running. I don't know if I want to be with someone whose reaction is flight at all. Even if it comes naturally. One more thought from OP. If his niece and nephew had died, I just don't think anyone would give a damn about his instincts. That's the thing, because they could have. Why should he have to protect you? Would you protect him? I expect us to protect each other, I guess is what I mean. I didn't expect him to take one for the team. I expected him to have my back. Update. My friend said that people update often, but I don't know how to attach it to the other post. I thought I'd update since a few things have happened. Sorry if this is needlessly long. I didn't expect this to get so many comments and kindnesses. I want to say I'm so sorry to everyone who has experienced anything similar because, my God, it has not been easy. For everyone worried about my mental health, I got an appointment through an app with my work yesterday because I decided I really needed it and labeled it high priority. However, it felt like just a preliminary meeting. She said she wanted to get me feeling a bit more comfortable because I was visibly tensing up whenever I started talking about it, and she even noticed it through the video chat. Last night, I also told my husband I needed space. I apologize that I don't have more of an update on our relationship than that. I wasn't as nice as I wanted to be. He argued and didn't want to leave. It's my house. But I told him I just didn't want to look at him, that I couldn't look at him. He cried, and I hate that I felt apathetic towards it. I haven't slept well, so I'm not sure if I'm just overtired and still so shaken. I was also emotionally exhausted after the appointment, so that might have added to it. I got a few questions about his sister and her husband, so I thought I'd answer. They aren't speaking with him. I don't know when it happened. I was definitely out of it at the hospital while I was getting the stitches and everything, but I do think after I was done blubbering and trying to explain how something so terrible happened to their little girl under our watch, they apparently asked him where he was. I still haven't talked to him about where he went, so I don't know. However, it clearly didn't satisfy them. His niece just got out of the hospital yesterday, so that really triggered everything and a lot happened. I had sent flowers, a bear, and this one toy she'd been asking about. I didn't go to the hospital though. I was scared seeing me would make her nervous. But his sister and her husband sent me flowers too, and it made me bawl again. I'm just a freaking mess, honestly. The father sent me a long message that I haven't been able to get through, but it's the sweetest thing anyone's ever sent me. He also sent me a $1,000 Visa card. I literally thought I was reading the amount wrong. They are good people, and I still feel terrible that I couldn't have done more for her. Everything's just replaying in my head. Anyway, I obviously haven't looked into filing yet, but I am not against the idea of it, and it really did help me feel better about wanting a divorce over this. I know fight or flight can't be helped, but now I think I realize that it's okay not to want to be with someone who would leave you behind. I think I can say I'm a fighter, and I want a fighter with me. Maybe he'd be better off with a runner instead too. Then he at least wouldn't be leaving someone behind. I don't know. It feels like I'm done. But I'm also just a mess, so right now I'm just glad I have space. Thank you to everyone for making me feel like I wasn't being ridiculous. I think it always feels like there should be multiple issues that tear a marriage apart, unless it's infidelity or something, and it's like I know he may not have meant to betray me, but he still did. Whatever his reasoning. Not sure when I'll be speaking to him, but I will try to update then. Relevant comments. Commenter, I'm so sorry you went through such a horrible experience. It sounds like the parents are thankful you protected their children at risk to your own safety. I know I'd never be able to repay you if they were my kids you protected. I'm glad you have gotten the therapy ball rolling. I wish you and your niece a speedy recovery. That little girl is always going to know how you saved her, and I'm sure you'll always be her aunt, regardless of whether you stay in your marriage or not. I'm so proud of you. OP. They're good people. His message was really soothing to read because I still feel guilty about how badly hurt she was from that initial bite. But she's home now, and I'm glad. I don't know how it works with children and therapy because she's so young, but I hope they get her some. Commenter, downvoted. I read the original post and I understand you. The man doesn't have a masculine bone in his body. Doubt he will ever be a protector. You are in a tough spot and hopefully things get better. OP, I don't need him to be a protector, just to have my back. Which I thought he did, but now I don't believe he would do that anymore. OP's support system. I have a decent support system. Though my family isn't close by, they've been messaging and video chatting with me a lot. Hours-long group chats. I think my mom has been trying not to give too much of her opinion on my relationship though. She was more focused on making sure I knew how to clean my wound and finding counseling, etc. She's a former nurse. Am I the A for defending a bride who left her groom at the altar after learning of his alleged affair, causing family turmoil and accusations? Okay, so boom, me and my husband attended a wedding. It was his cousin/niece's wedding. I'm not sure how to describe the relationship, but they were close growing up. The wedding was a bit unique. There was a brunch before the actual ceremony with the bride and groom. Then for an hour the wedding party left to get ready while all the guests were still at brunch, then the actual ceremony and the real reception was supposed to happen after. I thought everything was normal. At the brunch the couple looked happy and excited and a little nervous maybe. My husband had told me there had been a little drama leading up to the wedding because the groom's family insisted that the groom's ex should attend the wedding because they have a good relationship. The ex is an EMT and she apparently saved mother-in-law's life once. The bride didn't want the ex to attend but she caved in. At the actual ceremony, as you might have guessed from the title, the bride never showed. After a few minutes of awkward silence with the music playing as we waited for the bride's father came and told everyone she left. Groom was crying. The mother-in-law was screaming it was such a huge mess. At the reception they basically just told people to take boxes of food so it didn't go to waste. Since a lot of family was in town for the wedding, the bride's side of the family was hosting a reunion. At the reunion the bride said the reason she left the groom at the altar was because at the brunch the ex told her that she slept with the groom and apparently showed the bride a sex tape she made with the groom. Bride was distraught and left because she didn't want to marry a cheater. The groom's side of the family were slandering the bride on every social media platform possible. So the bride's side decided to fire back and they were publicly accusing the groom of cheating on her and it was just a big shit storm. Groom comes to the bride's house to try and clear things up. So the groom didn't actually cheat on the bride. The sex tape was from years and years ago. The groom's appearance just hadn't changed that much, so the bride believed the ex when she said it was recent. The ex was just trying to break them up. The ex confessed to it too. To my surprise, instead of everyone being angry at the ex, everyone turned on the bride. Her family was pissed at her for wasting money, being gullible, not letting the groom defend himself first. Everyone was yelling at her. I thought it was crazy, so I spoke up in her defense. I would have believed it too if there was video evidence plus the fact that she was practically forced into the ex attending their wedding. Now the whole family is against me and the bride, and it's so awkward and everyone is acting cold. My husband is upset because she now feels like if someone accused him of cheating on me I'd just take their word for it, but I feel that's completely unfair. Mini update. Okay, so my hubby came back to the hotel room and I showed him a post because he knows I like using Reddit. I mentioned a specific comment to him where one Redditor asked me how we are sure the tape was old and that the groom and ex aren't just covering their affair up by lying and saying it's old. I told my husband, and at first he laughed, but he started to think about the whole situation, I guess. While hubby was still at the bride's house trying to help with the situation after I left, the environment was getting too much for me, so I went back to the hotel. The groom had been groveling to the bride. Even though he was exonerated by ex admitting it was fake, he was still being very apologetic, which threw my husband off a bit. Like, even though he maintained he didn't cheat. Instead of the husband being angry about being left at the altar and publicly humiliated, he seemed to just want wife to forgive him. I thought this would be normal because the groom probably feels horrible about allowing the ex to ruin the day and hurt the wife like that, but my husband said it was unusual behavior for the groom. Apparently the groom is the high horse type and he would never apologize for a mistake that wasn't his. Husband knows the groom better than me, so my husband thinks it's plausible that the groom did cheat by the way he's acting, but he's not gonna bring it up because of how high tensions are and it might just make things worse. I also explained how and why I felt like my husband was being unfair to me by saying he thinks I'd believe anyone who accused him of cheating on me. He apologized and told me he was just stressed out earlier and he feels like we wasted money on this trip and went to see our kid for days over this wedding that got blown up over a lie. Bride texted me thanking me for defending her. Most of the slandering social media posts were taken down. The ex posted on social media playing victim. Well, not really, but she's posting like heartbreak stuff and those fucking depressed Bart Simpson memes, at her big age. The groom's mother pulled up the bride's house after I left and was threatening to burn the place down, because she was mad the bride humiliated her son over a lie because it was such a huge wedding, he had many co-workers and stuff there. I feel like I'm missing something, but I'm tired and it's been a long ass day. Edit in question. A few people are saying I should show this post to the bride, but I'm a bit scared she won't react well to me putting her business online because I don't know her that well, but at the same time I feel like she might appreciate that most people are on her side. But also I don't really want her to see my conspiracy theory about how the husband actually cheated on her because there's no actual proof. Should I? I love my husband but am no longer physically attracted to him. Not because of his looks, but because he isn't manly enough. I know this is a horrible thing to say, but I have to say it. It's a throwaway account. My husband and I are in our mid-40s, married for over 20 years, and have 3 beautiful children, all in their double digits. I do love my husband, but I don't know if I'm physically attracted to him, not because of his looks but because of how he lives his life. My husband is a good man, treats me very well, and is an amazing father to our children. Physically, he is tall, with broad shoulders, not skinny or athletic, but not obese either. He is a big guy with a big beard, big arms, and big hands. He is built like a linebacker. He can physically intimidate people with just his presence, although he never intentionally does that. He can control a room and has a very masculine job at which he excels. However, the manliness ends there. This is why I may not be attracted to him anymore, if I ever was. He is not handy. It's not that he doesn't try to fix or do things around the house, but he cannot build anything. Anything he does fix never looks or works right. Often we have to hire people to fix or build things for us. He doesn't drink. He will go out once in a while and have a couple of beers, but he doesn't drink at home. My husband isn't into any manly stuff. He doesn't hunt, fish, or do anything with automobiles, and is not big into sports. He has taken the kids fishing and shooting, just so they have the experience, but he does it just for them. He really doesn't have any hobbies. I begged him to take one up, so he started building Lego sets. He's in his 40s. He loves going to movies, likes cooking, I never have to cook when he is home, and he does a lot of the house cleaning. I will give him this. He doesn't play video games or board games, unless it's family time, or do anime or any of that. He is not controlling in bed. Sex is okay, but I want him to take charge. I won't say anything about this to him. I wouldn't know where to start. I do love him. It's not that I want him to be a drunk or macho aggressive jerk, but sometimes I just want a man to take charge and fix things and be a man. This is bad, I know. I feel bad saying it, just needed to say it. Update 1, hello. I wanted to add a little update to my original post. I don't know how to link it to this one, so you'll have to go into my history. I received a lot of hate for my thoughts and feelings. I realized when I wrote them and read comments about them that they come off as mean and cruel. I have no right to feel this way. The problem is that I do feel this way. I don't know how to change it. I thought about it for a few days and finally needed to take action because it was weighing on me so bad. I received some messages from people telling me to have a conversation with my husband. I decided to. I thought for quite a while about what I would say, how I would say it, and tried to think of questions or statements he would have that I thought about responses to. Last night we had a talk. Kids were at work and at friends' houses. We were sitting outside enjoying the fresh evening air. I brought it up. In short, nothing went as expected and I am as confused about my marriage as I ever was. I began by telling him that I love him. I love that he is a great father and person. However, there were some feelings I could not shake and there were some changes from him that I needed. I talked about his hobbies, changing it up a bit. Working in our bedroom, what I wanted out of it. I explained in the most sensitive way that I could about how I feel about his personality and overall measure as a man. I did not use those exact words. I was more gentle. However, in order to move forward with our marriage, I felt I needed to be honest. I did tell him that I wanted honesty from him as well and wanted him to tell me what I could do to be a better wife. I know I cannot ask him to change without having some changes myself. I never expected his reaction. He literally just stared at me. Said nothing. His reaction was emotionless. No anger, sadness, acceptance, nothing. Just stared. I said everything I wanted to say. I was looking for a response. I got none. After sitting in silence for a while, waiting for some reaction or words, I just yelled at him to say something. At least tell me what I need to work on. The only thing he said to me last night was, "I knew who you were when I married you. I am not going to ask you to change anything." That's it. We sat in silence for at least an hour after that. Our oldest then came home from work, and he went to talk to him for a while. Not about our conversation, but how work went and stuff. My husband did not sleep in bed last night. He slept on the basement couch. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to feel. I do feel better about telling him how I felt, but not as great as I thought. I really do not know how to feel. Maybe that's a sign my marriage is over? I can't feel anything about it. I should be happy I said it, sad he won't talk to me, angry for no response, but I have nothing. I guess I'll give it some time for both of us to process. Update 2. I apologize again, I still do not know how to post my previous updates or the original post. Please look at my history. My last update I laid out what happened while talking to my husband. He spent that night and last night on the couch downstairs sleeping. We haven't talked about our conversation. He has talked to me, but not about that, and the talks we have are short. We have had our kids around all weekend, so I never have gotten the opportunity to sit down with him, and with him sleeping downstairs, I figured to just give him some space. I don't know how to proceed. I have talked with a coworker about this, just to get advice since I needed someone in my life to talk to. He advised me to give it a bit of time to let my husband talk to me. But if there's no change offered by him, then it may be time to tell him that we need to separate. I don't want to do that, but it may come to that. I want him to see where I'm coming from and I want him to tell me what I can do to change. That is where we are at. No real big update, but I will give him until the end of the week. If he doesn't initiate anything, I will. Edit. Okay, I had to edit this post because there have been some comments about my coworker. I had these feelings about my husband before I talked with my coworker. We are not having an affair, we are not doing anything inappropriate. He is giving me some guidance because he is a man and I figured he could help. Nothing more than that. Also, please stop calling me names because I have these feelings and am trying to navigate them with my husband. I cannot help my feelings any more than you can help yours. Think about that. Think about an off feeling you had and wish you didn't have. It's happened to everyone, including you. So please stop. Update 3. This is not so much an update but a repeat of the edit on my previous update. I am not having an affair with my coworker. I went to him after I was having these feelings about my husband. For advice only. There is no emotional or physical affair going on. I go to him for advice, he gives it and I either take it or I don't. He is not pushing me to do anything, it's just his advice. I literally have no other friends or family in this area, or I would have gone to them. Also, these are my feelings about my husband. I have tried very hard not to feel this way, but I can't stop. I don't know how many of the angels and pure people on this app are able to control their feelings so well, but you obviously are better than I am. None of you have ever had feelings you couldn't shake or feel bad about. If you say you have, you are a liar. I posted my feelings because I am genuinely confused, scared, and don't know what to do. I feel that you guys just bash but provide no answers. There have been some of you that have been beautiful and helpful, sending me DMs, and I thank you for that. The rest of you in the comments, think before you post. If you don't want to provide sound advice, please just move on. Final update. Okay, I'm done. Not so much an update, but I have been getting so much hate for simply looking for advice. Comments, DMs, all have been just blasting me. I am not going to post on this anymore. What happens between my husband and I will remain between us. This was the stupidest decision, posting on here and then continuing to post on here. I am not cheating on my husband. It's a coworker. We have talked a few times about it. We only texted a couple of times. We don't talk about feelings for one another. Just someone I asked for a little guidance from, and he was nice enough to give it. Yes, my husband is a good man. No, I am not a piece of crap for having the feelings I do. I stand by talking to him about my feelings, because that is what people do in a marriage. If my marriage is over because he cannot accept what I have to say or change the small things I want him to change, then so be it. But I am done posting. Thank you to the people of Reddit for absolutely nothing. Meth-addicted sister stole my identity and opened 4 credit cards in my name. What are my options for getting my credit score back up? Like the title says, my sister, who is addicted to meth, opened several credit cards in my name and maxed them all out quickly. They were mainly used at grocery stores and Target, Walmart. I discovered this when I was served a court summons last week at my apartment. Upon checking my credit report, because I suspected a mistake, I found several unrecognized accounts and a collection account. The total debt was just over $15,000, all accrued around August to September of last year. The accounts were registered at my sister's address, which is an attached apartment at my parents' house. I immediately informed my parents about the situation, and they promised to talk to my sister. A few days later, they mentioned they were considering rehab for her as she had confessed to her meth addiction. A friend in law school advised me that involving the police was the only way to save my credit unless I wanted it ruined for years. When I relayed this to my mom, she asked me to delay involving the police and suggested a family discussion instead. Yesterday, I visited my parents' house and talked with them and my sister. She apologized for opening the accounts and admitted her addiction. She revealed she obtained my social security number from an old tax form and used the credit cards to buy gift cards and household items to trade for meth. She mentioned she was using less and considering rehab. When I shared my friend's advice, my mom urged me not to involve the police. She proposed that I cover the debt over time and that my sister could repay me when she was able, implying an uncertain future about the repayment. Knowing how drug addictions typically go, I am skeptical about the when turning into a never. While I want my sister to overcome her addiction, my credit score, now in the high 400s, is a barrier to buying a house when my lease expires next year. I explained the dire impact of the situation on my financial goals to my parents. They understood, but their solution to pay off the debt didn't address the various negative marks on my credit, like the 90-day late notices, closed accounts, collection actions, and the court summons. They asked me to consider their offer to not involve the police, emphasizing her need for rehab over jail. This morning, my dad reiterated their understanding of my frustration but pleaded for a second chance for my sister. They even proposed buying a house for me, which I would pay back, contingent on not reporting my sister's actions. I am torn. While I agree she needs more help than punishment, her actions involved multiple crimes using my identity. The potential offer from my parents for a 0% interest rate home loan is tied to accepting the financial loss myself. What should I do? I wish to recover my credit score, but I must also consider the human element involved. Update. A few days after my original post, I decided to file a police report, notifying my parents beforehand. Initially, not much happened, but filing the report helped clear my credit report, boosting my credit score by about 270 points, clearing all negative marks. I briefly spoke with an investigator, who was informed that I hadn't lost any money and my credit was restored. He advised continued vigilance on my credit. Shortly after, my mother angrily called me, upset that my sister was going to jail, accusing me of being heartless for reporting her while she was trying to get help. Despite talking about rehab, my sister never took actual steps towards it. She confessed everything to the investigator and was arrested at my parents' home, spending just one night in jail before being released with a court mandate for supervision, restitution, and mandatory rehab, probably the best outcome under the circumstances. My parents are likely to cover the restitution, but my mom lashed out at me, leading to my exclusion from our family's July 4th celebration, claiming it would be hard for my sister to see me. As I plan to buy a house this fall, I am now ensuring that no new issues appear on my credit report. Given the circumstances, I'm considering moving far from my family. I found out that my mother and my fiancé had been having sex for the past few years, leading up to the birth of my younger brother. My fiancé, 25, and myself, 24, have been together since we were 17-18 years old. Honestly, he was always kind, handsome, funny, and everyone used to say I was so lucky to have the whole package. I felt so lucky too. He always treated me with love and respect, so this makes everything just so shocking for me. I have always had a good relationship with my mom. It has always been her and I against the world. My dad died in an accident when I was little. We always joke that we are the real-life Rory and Lorelai from Gilmore Girls. My mom dated guys on and off and they were usually cool but nothing really past the early stages. Around 4 years ago my mom told me she was pregnant, which was a huge surprise. My mom was around 42 years old and although she was sort of dating someone recently, didn't meet the guy but knew she went on dates, it still was a big shock. She never thought she could be pregnant at her age. She had me when she was super young, an oopsie, and I can tell she was stressed and worried. I decided to support her, since she has always supported me and tried to reassure her. She then had my brother who is now 3 years old. I have a close relationship with my brother. I have helped take care of him since he was born and I just love the little guy. My fiancé was also always helpful with my brother. We would take him out for ice cream, playground, pool time during summer, etc. But nothing was weird. He was just my then BF spending time with my brother and I. Now to how I found out. My fiancé and I have been living together since we finished college. He was not at home because he was hanging out with friends, but I stayed home because I didn't feel like going out and just wanted to relax on the sofa. At some point during binge watching a series on Netflix, my laptop died, and I was too lazy to get my charger, so I used my fiancé's iPad instead. I know the password but had never used it before. The iPad logged in, and I received a bunch of message notifications. I guess he hasn't used it in a while either. Anyway, this got my attention, and I went to check it out, and of course, I found everything. My mom's number wasn't saved under her name, but I recognized it and verified it with my phone. She was telling him she felt guilty and that I should know. He said he also felt guilty but couldn't lose me and that they messed it up. She said it was unfair for my brother to never know his dad and asked if he could live having his son around, not behaving like a dad but as a brother-in-law. I broke down. What the actual F? There weren't a lot of older messages, just some photos stored of my brother as a newborn, my mom pregnant, and more photos of my brother growing up in an album. I couldn't anymore. I cried for what seemed like ages and I waited for my BF to come back home. I wish I was one of those women that can pretend and get things together before confronting the cheater, but I can't. He came back later that night, around 23:30, and I just gave him the iPad with the conversation opened and saw his face completely go pale. I asked for an explanation. When? How? Why? And he didn't want to at first, but knew he had to. Apparently a few years back while I was traveling with some friends, girls trip, my fiancé and mom had dinner together. This isn't strange since he has been part of the family for so long. Sometimes mom and fiancé would eat together at our place even if I was busy with sports or out. I did the same with his parents. Somehow, unclear how since he couldn't explain it well, one thing led to another and they ended up sleeping together. They felt guilty but apparently not guilty enough. BC they slept together 2-3 more times, using the excuse of meeting up to discuss how to tell me. Apparently when my mom got pregnant they stopped sleeping together and decided to not tell me, since my fiancé loved me and couldn't lose me, and my mom didn't want to lose her daughter. So here we are now, with two of the most disgusting humans. I obviously broke the engagement, told my mom to never talk to me again and move in with a friend. I feel bad for my brother since I really love him, but I can't be around him now, I just can't. I feel like it would remind me of all those times we talked about having kids. I would be his baby mama, only baby mama. We talked about this future since we were 17 years old, so I want to puke every time I think how I was actually taking care of his child with someone else, while still having those dreams. I want to puke. Editor's note. Comments were mostly supportive, with a few telling their own stories of cutting parents off and a couple with tales of spouses sleeping with parents. How is this even a thing? People are crazy. Update 1, to the update. As I was afraid, I was indeed confronted near my office this week. I knew this was coming but thought maybe I had more time. My ex was the person to come find me. Yesterday, Wednesday, after finishing work and walking to where my car was parked, my ex was sort of lingering, waiting around. I thought about running. Not gonna lie, but I guess in the moment I felt strong enough to get over it, instead of having that hanging above my head waiting to be approached again. He asked if we could talk and I said yes, but I didn't feel like having that conversation over coffee like we were old friends. It felt ridiculous, so I told him to just talk right there. We were in the streets, but somehow it wasn't crowded, but also not completely lonely. Felt right. He basically said sorry 100 times and that I deserved better. I agreed. He said he did love me and that he still does, but he would understand why I wouldn't want anything to do with him. He said that if I did in fact consider giving him a chance, that he would go to therapy, alone or together or both, and that he would work hard to win my trust back. I told him it wasn't possible. There was too much damage. This sounds calm when I type it, but in the moment things came out more with louder tone and harsher words. Anyways, he did say that he is in the or will be, it was a bit of a blur, process of getting custody, partly, from my brother, and that he in fact does want to be a dad to him. He said he does not want to be together with my mom, that it was just a stupid mistake. Sure, BC 4-5 times is just a random thing. He couldn't explain why he did it in the first place. I think he doesn't even know himself. I asked if he cheated with someone else before. He said no, not sure if to believe it, but he sounded honest. I asked why he didn't come clean, and he said that after he did the deed he always felt panicked and it hit him that he could lose me and he just didn't want to. I told him it was meant to be found out, that what was his plan? To have my brother around and ignore their relationship forever? He said he didn't think far enough and that he was basically going with the idea one day at the time. I asked him if he felt that my mom seduced him. He said it was mutual, which made me want to puke again. I asked if he has had any contact with my mom since I found out. He said yes, but mostly about my brother, didn't elaborate more, and I didn't press for more info on that. He said he told his parents the day before, or the day before that, not sure, Tuesday, about everything. The parents were not happy, but they are glad to start building a relationship with my brother, their grandkid. Honestly, all of this felt like a punch in my stomach. I don't know why. The parents wanted to contact me, but he told them to wait till he approached me first, hence why he was here. I said if he started or thought about the custody before I found out, and he said no, but when I found out was like the push he needed. Great. Seems I helped him get his shit together. And this past week he was arranging all of that mess, that's why he hasn't tried to see me before. He sounded and looked defeated, but the whole thing made me, besides sad, angry. I was mainly depressed before, but now I'm furious. I feel like he is still in an okay place and he isn't paying for his actions, beyond me leaving him. He will have my brother, his parents and others and move on with his life. While I lost everything. I hate him. We parted ways not on a happy note, and I told him to never get near me again. I was done. He asked me to see my brother still, that I was important to him, and tried to guilt trip me, and it worked, but I still think I can't. I don't know much about my mom and really hope she doesn't come find me anytime soon because I'm fuming right now and won't be able to handle it. I will be contacting my family and friends and finally doing the blasting today. I think it is about time, and after my talk with him, I got the extra push I needed. Editor's note. Top comment suggested moving to Australia. Can't fault that line of thinking. Update 2. A lot has happened. I did the blasting, and this is how it went down. I first posted on my family's FB group we share. This is from my mom's family side. I used inspiration of what you all suggested in my last post and said something around the lines of, I want to communicate to you all that my wedding with X has been permanently cancelled, since I found out that my mom, name, and my ex, name, had in the last few years a sexual relationship which resulted in the birth of my little brother, name. I had no clue of any of this, and I found out about it last week. I won't have a relationship with, name, mom, and ex, name, for obvious reasons. I would appreciate your understanding, and I felt it was only fair to let you know of the situation. Since I value transparency and honesty above all. I also included a screenshot of my mother's message, what I said to her once I found out, and a message she managed to write back before I blocked her. Didn't open the message till before the blasting. I didn't want to read her and be persuaded. It exploded. I had family reaching out via text and calling the whole day after the blasting. I would say most were very supportive, and I could tell they were just shocked. There were a few neutral and some suspicious that it wasn't the whole story and maybe I misunderstood. My grandparents were in the maybe you misunderstood category, which wasn't surprising since my mom is super close to my grandparents, and like I said before, my mom was always a good mom. So no red flags. I will be moving with a cousin that is more like a sister to me. I haven't reached out to her previously because I knew once she knew everyone would, that's why I went to my friend's place. My cousin is devastated on my behalf and offered to live with her and her 2 kids until I can get my feet on the ground. I accepted and will be moving next week. I'm a bit afraid this will give my mom an easier access to me, but I can't stay at my friend's place forever. I then proceeded quickly to post a similar message for we share most of our friends since high school and local university, friends on Instagram. I created a close friends story and tagged most of them too. This went sort of viral in our friend group. Actually, one of my friends sent me my Reddit post and asked if this was me. I confirmed. They were also shocked and speechless. They never thought my ex would even remotely do anything like this. They said he was crazy about you. Oh well, apparently he went overboard on the crazy part. The group of friends is divided ATM, some are completely on my side, and some are thinking it isn't the whole truth. I told everyone that reached out that if they don't believe me to ask their friend if he is asking for custody of my little brother, that kinda shut them up for now. My ex deleted his social media. Also, my ex's parents called me like I guessed they would. They were kind to me and were very sorry about everything. I got the feeling they are also overwhelmed and very disappointed. However, it was clear they will be supporting their son. They are very upset at my mother, and don't want anything to do with her, but not sure how that will work with my little brother and everything else. They tried to give me info about the custody and what is my ex up to now, but I shut that down quickly and told them I don't want any info, I want to move on. I also asked them to not reach out in the near future, that I needed distance, especially if they will be supporting my ex, he is living with his parents ATM. Also, my ex and my mother after the blast were going nuts trying to reach out to me. They tried calling my friend, who she blocked them, and reaching out from different numbers. I had to put my phone on silent and ignore everyone. However, my mother sent me a long text, from another number, and that was a weird text. She said that I was being cruel and that she didn't think she raised me that way. She said she thought we had a better relationship than me blasting out laundry like that without talking to her first. That I didn't have the whole picture. She did mention something that confused me. She said in her long-ass text, that the reason she slept with my ex is because he reminded him of my dad. That it was grief. That she didn't mean to use him to heal her pain, but she wasn't strong enough. I don't even know what that means. Like, did she think that my ex looks physically like my dad? Or personality? Or what? I have seen photos of my dad, and well, yeah, my ex isn't super different but also not super alike. I mean, they share brown dirty blonde hair, blue eyes, white skin. But that's not so uncommon. I don't see what else. I don't know. That threw me for a loop and honestly makes me want to confront my mom just to know what the hell. From all the things she could say, I was not expecting that. I'm holding on better, I don't cry every hour or want to murder them. But I'm still sad and upset, and it just feels like it isn't my life, that it is a big joke or a bad dream and I will wake up to my normal life. I also need to really start planning my future and start applying for jobs in other cities, or maybe check the possibilities abroad more seriously. I might ask for 2-3 days off work to really get my thoughts together and do some research. I'm terrified tbh. I feel frozen, but I know I need to start moving. Editor's note, this one has some funny comments. Commenter 1, that mom is hilarious. I thought I raised you better. I never in a million years thought you'd fuck my boyfriend, but here we are. Commenter 2, my petty ass would be sending her that. Commenter 3, right. The irony of her blaming you for airing laundry when she did that. Commenter 4, the laundry wouldn't be dirty if you hadn't fucked my boyfriend on it.